WWE Hall of Famer Kurt Angle here to tell you about SaveWithConrad.com. Conrad and his team are routinely helping podcast listeners become homeowners, get out of debt faster, and get cheaper monthly payments. They can do it all without perfect credit or money out of pocket. Oh, it's true. It's time to put debt in an ankle lock once and for all. Hurry over to SaveWithConrad.com today to get started.
Hey guys, Double J, Jeff Jarrett. Need to call a timeout real quick here. I wanted to tell your listeners what I've been telling my world listeners for a while now. It's about all the incredible things happening over on adfreeshows.com.
We're joined by wrestling royalty as David Crockett takes us month by month through Jim Crockett Promotions booking logs. David and Conrad dive into the towns, matches, and money of JCP in January 1985 on The Book.
Charlotte is really the home of Jim Crockett Promotions, is it not?
It is. Yes. It's the home. The thing is, the Greensboro was always the home of Starrcade.
Yes.
That the bigger matches we would take to Greensboro. Main reason is over the whole area, we had more population and road systems going to Greensboro than we did Charlotte.
We look back on the Turner years with the men who lived them. For the first time ever, JR, Eric, and Tony sit down with a couple of drinks and share stories like you've never heard before on the Ad-Free Show's exclusive After Hours.
For the 19th time, I had a regular size, grown-up refrigerator. I was a grown-up man. Okay. And I had a washer and dryer. Shazam! And they were moved by Turner from Texas to Atlanta. They told me we're going to put them in storage while you stay at such and such hotel downtown.
Chat one-on-one with the Podfather, an extension of the popular Ask Conrad mailbag series. Conrad talks live with Ad-Free Shows members, answering their questions about wrestling, mortgages, and everything in between.
I appreciate you saying that. I feel the same way. I've met a lot of great people through here, and we all have something in common, and that's our love of wrestling and our inability to just let it go. We all have this insatiable thirst and quest for more, and we want to learn more and be more involved. And I think it's cool that we all really, for lack of a better word, share a passion like that. And as a result, man, we can have a lot of fun together.
Hey, that's just a small taste of what Ad-Free Shows has waiting for you, including a brand new perk, getting to join in on the live recordings of the shows with 4 levels to choose from. See for yourself why Ad-Free Shows is the best value in wrestling today. Sign up now at adfreeshows.com. That's right, sign up today at adfreeshows.com.
Welcome to Something To Wrestle With.
Something to wrestle with.
Bruce Prichard.
Bruce Prichard.
Well, you know.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to Something To Wrestle With. Out Bruce Prichard. Unfortunately, Bruce is burning it at both ends again. The world of WWE never stops. Maybe you've heard that. A lot of moving and shaking, a lot of changes, a lot of chatter. Well, Bruce, of course, is still doing his job, baby, trying to make sure we're entertained every Monday and Friday. And unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to record this week, but we're going to do everything we can in our power to get you another one just in time for the Royal Rumble next weekend. But of course, today is a very special Royal Rumble edition of Something To Wrestle With. One of our first great episodes, I felt like, was a Royal Rumble episode when we talked about 1997 in San Antonio, of all places, the home of this year's Royal Rumble. How fitting. Full circle, eh? Well, listen, we appreciate you guys' support. Sorry that Bruce wasn't able to record. If we're able to throw it down over the weekend, we'll try to get it up as soon as we can. But hey, man, a lot of moving parts these days. A lot of moving parts. Greatly appreciate your support here on Something To Wrestle. Hope you'll check out our YouTube channel and follow us on social. And we'll see you again real soon for another episode of Something To Wrestle With Bruce Prichard. But for now, here's some Royal Rumble memories. Get you in the mood for next weekend. Talk to me about the way you guys put together this match. We've talked a little bit about how Royal Rumble matches are put together. We know that Andre the Giant's going to be here. I mean, literally everybody's in here. I mean, even Roberts and Piper have a little bit of a confrontation up front. I mean, all the big stars though, just a who's who in this one, but we know there's one spot in particular we're trying to build to. Talk to me about what you remember, the way these were structured, who was the agent, how the guys knew what to do here and where and everywhere. The talent lineup is DiBiase, Coco, Marty Jannetty, Jake Roberts, Randy Savage, Roddy Piper, The Warlord, Bret Hart, Bad News Brown, Dusty Rhodes, Andre the Giant, Red Rooster, Axe, Haku, Smash, Akeem, Jimmy Snuka, Dino Bravo, Canadian Earthquake, Jim Neidhart, Ultimate Warrior, Rick Martel, Tito Santana, Honky Tonk Man, Hulk Hogan, Shawn Michaels, The Barbarian, Rick Rude, Hercules, and the top heel, Mr. Perfect. He drew number 30. He comes in last. Chat me up. How is this put together? You know, the idea is you're supposed to have a new entrant every 2 minutes. Of course, that's not always the case. And we get a nickname to Titan Time. DiBiase sets a new longevity record here. He goes 44 minutes, 47 seconds. Quite the performance by him. He was mad at Virgil for drawing number 1, but I mean, he puts on quite the show for himself. What do you remember about this one?
Hats off to Pat Patterson. This was a lot of Pat doing it on his own at this time. And this was, we all had our tweaks to it, just little additions, but man, hats off to Pat Patterson. His brainchild, him putting it together and making sure all the stories were told. But as you go through it, the things that stick out, DiBiase lasting as long as he did was positively just a great job on Ted's part. But when Ted finally got eliminated, holy fuck, did the place erupt, because they followed it all the way through. The little things of, when Randy Savage came in and Jake the Snake and Roddy Piper working together, and I think it was Savage and Perfect or whatever it was. No, it wasn't Savage and Perfect, but it was the build up all the way through of the little nuanced spots. And then it was all to build to finally, and it wasn't backing up, bumping into each other. It was a very simple spot where everybody is finally eliminated. And there's Hulk and Warrior. And all it was simple fucking tackles where nobody moves and a few shoves. And that's all you got. But it was enough that nobody sold anything. The little shit that sticks out when Warrior hits the ring. And I think it was Barry Darso, Demolition Smash, is pounding on his back, and Warrior's not selling a thing, doesn't even know he's there. Just little things like that you watch as you go on. Absolutely fucking superb Royal Rumble from start to finish, all the way through, ending up with Hulk and Perfect at the end, where you're thinking, and this was before the winner went on to WrestleMania. This was all about the Royal Rumble itself having that much prestige, that winning that was like winning a championship. And it was a place where you could set things up for the future, and this set up Hulk and Warrior just perfectly. But again, there were so many beautiful spots, and you and I were, like we said before, about doing a watch along. You need to watch this one without any interruption and just let it sink in. Bret Hart, holy shit, Bret Hart coming out to an unbelievable pop. And then when they grab Bret, you watch Bret, he doesn't let him grab his arms all the way behind his back. He holds it. Just the shit made sense, and it was good. And with, very few exceptions, I thought it was a damn near perfect Royal Rumble.
Let me ask, because you said perfect Royal Rumble. Perfect's there at the end. He's the last one to be eliminated. He's never lost a match. Was Perfect Hogan ever considered for WrestleMania? And if not, was Perfect ever considered to win the Royal Rumble? I mean, I know that, Hogan must post pal. I get that. But the very first Royal Rumble was Jim Duggan. Was he considered here?
No. And this was all about trying to get to Warrior and Hulk at Mania, but the promotion leading up to it was all about Hulk and Perfect. So you needed to transition that. And this was kind of, in some ways, the blow off for Hulk and Kurt.
That's weird. That's the blow off. I mean, the first year it's Jim Duggan. The second year it's Big John Studd. The third year it's Hulk Hogan. It feels like it was quite a delta to get to that point, but still Hogan must pose. Very iconic moment in this show too, where someone in the crowd has painted up a bed sheet that says Hulkamania will live forever. Hogan still has that bed sheet in his Hogan's Beach shop in Florida. It's still displayed there, but it's really iconic, especially in this building, because years later, the first mega pay-per-view for WCW is Flair Hogan, and it's in this same building. And the sort of the mezzanine level, the way the lighting is, it's unmistakable for Orlando. And it's just weird that Orlando's been such a big part of Hulkamania for so long. And you guys couldn't have scripted that fan with the bed sheet any better, could you?
Sometimes the unscripted shit is the best.
3 stars.
That's what makes it beautiful.
3 stars is what it gets. We should mention that, Warrior has the most eliminations. He's got 6. Nobody else is even close to him in that regard. DiBiase has 3 and everybody else is at 2. So he's got 3 times what almost everybody else has. Warrior would throw out Santana at 47 minutes and 6 seconds. And then Shawn Michaels comes in. Hogan throws out Haku at 48:04. Warrior dumps Michaels at 48:07 and Martel at 48:09. Meltzer would say, yes, Michaels, probably the most exciting worker in the Fed, worked a total of 15 seconds or so. This left the big thing, Warrior versus Hogan. They traded no-sell shoulder blocks, did a nice double clothesline spot, and then just laid there for 30 seconds, and that was it. Of course, we know that eventually Warrior goes out at 52:35. He's tangled up with Barbarian and Rick Rude. Hogan goes to clothesline the 2 heels, but it's somehow Warrior who goes over. And at that point, he would say the crowd died down because they knew there would be no more Hogan Warrior. But still, a big reaction when Mr. Perfect takes the big head first bump and then goes over the top, and Hogan's your winner. Meltzer would say, as a live show, I'd say the thing was better than average. The crowd enthusiasm was as good as you could expect, given the longer than usual matches and short attention span of the fans. They were really into most of the stuff. Only Valentine, Garvin, and Doug and Bossman put them to sleep. Although the Rumble, because it went almost an hour, had almost no actual wrestling, and it did drag in spots. What they did with Hogan and Warrior was just about perfect. Still, I have to second guess some of the Royal Rumble booking, since they put the guys the fans wanted to see in early, so that the middle, which is where Hogan and Warrior were, was slow. The finish wasn't nearly as anticlimactic as last year. Compared with the Rumble last year, I'd say there was less actual good wrestling this year. However, last year the crowd wasn't as up, so the Rumble dragged a lot more, and the finish was totally anticlimactic because no one cared about Stud. This year, keeping Hogan in until the end kept things from dying down, even when the winner was obvious. When it came time to poll the readers of the Observer, we got 48.8% thumbs up, 31.9% thumbs down, 18.8% thumbs in the middle. What say you? Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle?
2 thumbs up.
It's really kind of hard to argue, I guess. It was, especially for me, because I just grew up loving this show in particular. Go out of your way to watch this one. The Rumble match is great fun. All those promos are great. The Brother Love segment right in the middle is great. And the reactions to some of these performers that, we sort of just dismiss in hindsight, man, were just phenomenal. It just shows you how over the machine was with the fans at that point. Next up, we get a Hulk Hogan promo. And
Thank God.
Let me, I guess we've talked about it before, but I want to mention it again. When we're doing all the Rumble pre-tapes, because they are pre-tapes, when you've got that many guys one after another, that's done in the afternoon. But this Hogan promo, this has to be live, because he's mid promo and completely forgets Saddam Hussein's name. And he turns and looks at Mean Gene and says, "You know who, brother? Saddam Hussein." I mean, he's struggling, but it's live.
He's talking about old Saddam Hussein that used to work Kansas City territory there. Sean Bedford, he was Saddam Hussein. He worked that gimmick there in Kansas City. A little bit, they did a little bit in Nevada too.
You look a little like Sudan Hussein.
You gonna tell me anything about the promo, or are we just gonna keep doing bubblegum shit here?
No, it was like, no, dude, it was, what the fuck? It was live. I thought it was fucking great. It was goddamn stereotypical Hulk Hogan.
Yes.
Excited, telling us what the fuck was going to happen. And by God, everything's okay in America because he is American goddamn made. And when it comes crashing down and it hurts inside, what?
You just, every now and again I get frustrated with your ass, and then you totally redeem yourself with that shit. Let's get to the Rumble.
Gotta make a stand. You can't run and hide. Because he's a real goddamn American.
Oh, God.
Fight for the rights of every man.
Meltzer would write, the immortal and shameful
Even
Hulk Hogan threw out the charismatic Earthquake to win the Rumble in 65-16. He says, this is the worst of the 4 Rumbles thus far. They kept a lot of the guys in the ring for long periods of time, but unlike in other years when guys like Kurt Hennig, Bret Hart, or Shawn Michaels had their best working shoes on and carried the action for the non-workers, it seemed that everyone was just told to go out there and punch and kick, and little was worked out. There are almost no high spots. Nobody took any kind of special bumps after being eliminated, since Hogan was already told us he was going to win the Rumble before the thing started by guaranteeing his victory for the troops abroad. That's actually kind of funny in hindsight. Can you imagine if he says, I dedicate this match to the troops over in Iraq, man. And then he goes out there and loses. Fuck, you can't do that. Right?
Well, hell no, because this is goddamn real American. I am a real American. Fight for the rights of every man.
Was Pat on hiatus here?
No, Pat was with us.
Why was this Rumble? Why did it look and feel different in execution than the others had?
I think more than anything is because we were worried about so much other shit. And, you're watching everything else that's going on in the world, and you're just wondering about everything else under the sun. So when you're focused on that, Pat had to help with the damn Warrior and Savage stuff, and then you got to do all this. It just wasn't, we spent the weekend down there going over everything, but there were a lot of what ifs, and there were plan A's and plan B's, but there was never a change in the match. There was never a change in the attraction, how we got to that attraction and what we might have done before and after. There were different ways to approach it, but then we were in it. And fucking declared war while we were in the middle of the Rumble. Again, they could have just waited. Think about it. The Royal Rumble's over, and you go to CNN and they're reporting on Hulk Hogan winning the Royal Rumble. Sergeant Slaughter is the new WWF champion. And oh, by the way, here's President Bush.
You get to be ringside for this. I think this is the only time you were ringside for a Royal Rumble. You come out with the Undertaker. How was your experience that night?
Well, he didn't listen to me. Otherwise, he would have won. And if he'd only listened to me, then he would have won that championship much sooner. I'm confident of that.
You want eventually the final 3. You want to talk about a weird Rumble? Normally we get down to a final 4 and everybody's like, oh, what's it going to be? Well, the final 3 here, Hogan, Earthquake, who by the way, they did big business with the prior SummerSlam, and Brian Knobbs. How the fuck is Brian Knobbs what is this?
Anybody could be it. Anybody could win it.
Listen to you.
It is.
The Earthquake stuff here feels like it goes a little long. Eventually they eliminate Knobbs, as we mentioned, but Hulk is teasing, hey, I'm going to body slam him. He goes for the body slam and he collapses. So Quake squashes him a few times, but then he does a Superman comeback, a body slam, and a clothesline over the top rope. It feels like the crowd was ready for it to end. Maybe it stretched a little too long. Meltzer gave it 2.25 stars.
The crowd was definitely ready for it to end. I think that the crowd, man, after the Warrior match, they were done.
Yeah, I agree. Well, what did you think of the Rumble? You watched it back 3 weeks ago now and have clearly forgotten that there were even other referees there, but what did you think? Is this the payoff for Hulk Quake here at the end? You know, we don't get more follow-ups after SummerSlam except for this. Is that sort of putting a bow on that feud maybe?
Basically, I guess it's a nod to it, get people to remember it, but I didn't think it was that good. I didn't think that this was one of those Rumbles where we sat back and went, oh my God. It's nice to see Taker out there and get to see me go out there with Mark and all that and do, little things. But, which by the way, Taker should have been the original Diesel spot when I watched that and looked back on it. And he should have been the guy standing in that ring for about, 7 or 8 people and just clear it. Until finally here comes Hogan or whoever the fuck. But it was okay. It just wasn't great. We had one story to tell that night.
This is before it's sort of promoted as win the Rumble, get a title shot. But as it happens here, Hogan wins the Rumble and gets a title shot at WrestleMania. When do you remember somebody saying, hey, why don't we just make that part of the show?
That was in October or November when I came back before WrestleMania 9.
There you go.
Is a way to get Yoko in there. And the original idea was, I think I've told before, was Scott Steiner, to bring Scott Steiner in as a single. And holy shit, brand new guy, first time in the Rumble, win it and go to WrestleMania.
Man, I just love talking to you guys about Chili Sleep. I am sleeping better than ever, and I know I'm enjoying a better quality of life, all because I get a good night's sleep. I got to give you guys a peek behind the curtain. A few years ago, pre-Chili Sleep, I was sleeping like 5, maybe 6, sometimes 7, but very rarely 7 hours a night. But that wasn't even continuous sleep. I was fussing with the covers, fighting with the pillows. I was up and down, tossing and turning. I was trying to get comfortable. I had a ceiling fan in my bedroom. I would crank down that AC. I would kick a leg out from underneath the covers. I was doing whatever I could to not be hot because I knew I slept better when I was cool. Well, it turns out I was right. Science tells us the best way to achieve and maintain consistent deep sleep is by lowering our core body temperature. You see, temperature-controlled sleep repairs your muscles after a hard day's work, and it improves your cognitive function so you always start your day feeling sharp and alert. Now, Sleep Me is the new home for Chili Sleep. Sleep Me is bringing you the same great sleep that Chili Sleep offered, but under a new name. Chili Sleep makes the coldest and most comfortable sleep systems available. They create the environment that meets your body's natural need for lower core temperatures, promoting deep, more restorative sleep. Chili Sleep makes the Ooler, the Cube, and the Doc Pro sleep system. All three are water-based, temperature-controlled mattress toppers. Let me explain. They fit over your existing mattress, and they provide you your ideal sleep temperature. These mattress pads keep your bed at the perfect temperature for deep sleep, cold sleep. You see, Sleep Me is designed to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and give you the confidence and energy to power through your day. I'm jealous of this. I've got the Ooler, but they just launched the brand new Doc Pro sleep system. I can't wait to try it. It has 2 times more cold power than their other models. It's whisper quiet, and it has a tubeless mattress pad design that allows for 5 times more cooling contact. Why not pair it with the new Sleep.me app? That's going to give you think of it as almost like a smart thermostat for your phone. My wife has her side of the bed automated. She wants to climb into a warm bed, but she wants to drop that temperature as she starts to fall asleep so she doesn't get all hot and sweaty and she gets that deep sleep. But then she has her side of the bed automatically set to warm her up, to wake her up. How about that for sleep scheduling? Head on over to sleep.me/wrestle to learn more and save 25% off the purchase of any new Doc Pro, Cube, or Ooler sleep system. This offer is available exclusively for Something to Wrestle With listeners, and it's only for a limited time, y'all. That's sleep, sleep.me/wrestle to take advantage of our exclusive discounts and wake up feeling refreshed every day. Paul wants to know, in your opinion, is the post-match victory promo the best Ric Flair promo of all time?
I thought it was good. I think there's a lot of Ric Flair promos that people can point to and say, God damn, that was good. But this one was definitely memorable.
What's your favorite?
God, I think I go back and listening to the whole build up to Rick's last match. Some of those promos were absolutely classic, and they had so much emotion to them because they were real and you felt it.
Here's a fun one. The Mounties Intercontinental title reign, was it just a rib?
Not a rib.
Aaron wants to know, was there a year when it was highly considered / almost happened that a not top guy was set to be the winner? And if so, who was it?
No, because after this, when we got to WrestleMania 9, with the Royal Rumble right before that, the fact that the winner would be in the main event at WrestleMania, we talked about doing Unknown. And actually that first one, we talked about doing it with Scott Steiner. But it had to make sense to get us to WrestleMania.
Let's talk about the poster. One of the most iconic things ever. David wants to know, any stories on working with Marvel comic artist Joe Jusko, who drew the iconic early Royal Rumble posters?
Just the first one that he did was so damn good that Vince loved it. And we went back for, did we do it 2 years or 3 years in a row? But we went back to it. And that was one of the first times that Vince ever went back to something like that.
How did you guys find him? Was he a fan and pitched it, or did somebody have the idea of having a comic book guy do it?
Creative Services reached out, and Creative Services had the concept and reached out to him to do it. They're excellent. They're one of the few posters that I actually have up in my house.
Andres wants to know, question won't be answered, but screw it. How big's Batista's dick?
So Piper there with a nice bite of Ric Flair's head.
Jason
and
says,
Flair goes back to the eyes.
Jason says, when Hogan lost the match, the audience cheered, but when they replay it on TV, they dub in boos to make Sid a heel for doing it. How often does this happen? Any other instances you can think of besides every Roman Reigns entrance?
What are y'all watching? I watched it on the network and I didn't hear, I heard the cheers. You can see the people pop. And I heard cheers when Hogan got eliminated. So I think that's, for television and things, when we used to tape things, we would definitely put in cheers and boos, okay, where they didn't exist before. But, man, I heard the cheers when Hogan got eliminated. So I don't know. Maybe y'all are watching some other feed.
Dante can clear it up for us. He says, ask Bruce about the main event the following week, how they re-edited Gorilla and Bobby's Rumble dialogue to portray Sid as the villain when it was clear that Hogan was the wrestler being booed at the Rumble's conclusion. You can still watch both versions on the WWE Network, and there's totally different commentary between the two.
I have no idea. I wasn't there.
Vladimir wants to know, what was the reaction in the business about Flair coming to New York with the big gold belt?
I think most people thought it was work, and most people thought it was, kind of cooperation. But at the same time, it was like ooh, shit. And it was a pretty damn big deal to those of us in the business. I was unemployed at the time, or as Vince likes to say, on hiatus, but I remember it vividly.
Rashad wants to know, what was Jack Tunney's non-kayfabe role behind the scenes?
Jack Tunney was the promoter in Canada, in Toronto and the area around Canada.
Jesse wants to know, why did all the best pay-per-views happen when Bruce was fired? SummerSlam 91, Survivor Series 91, Royal Rumble 92, Mania 8, SummerSlam 92, and then Bruce comes back and we get fucking Survivor Series 92. Womp, womp, womp.
Yeah, well, fuck you.
That was pretty funny. How was Mean Gene Okerlund behind the scenes? He seems to be a nice, quick-witted guy he'd like to go out and have a few beers with.
Gene is an absolute lot of fun to go out and have a few beers with, and he is very quick-witted. Thank God for Sid Justice.
Chris wants to know, was there ever any consideration here to turning Hogan heel?
I have no idea. No, I mean, probably not, knowing Vince. I wasn't there, guys.
Michael wants to know, what was it that Vince saw in Flair differently than, say, a Dusty or a Harley Race or any other NWA legend to push him so quickly? It seems like a lot of those guys have to come in and quote unquote pay their dues. Meanwhile, Flair gets a mega push from the moment he comes in.
I think Vince probably saw a lot of himself in Ric Flair. If Vince were to be a wrestler back in that time, he probably would have been Ric Flair.
Jen says, days before Shawn Michaels had one of the greatest heel turns of all time, the crowd reaction he got was mixed at best, and some people were cheering. Could anything have been done differently to capitalize on this in what is probably the second most important pay-per-view of the year? Most of the crowd didn't even seem to be aware of the turn at the time.
Yeah, do it earlier, but that's what you do. I mean, you bite that bullet and move on.
Ryan wants to know, who would have been Bruce's pick to win the Rumble?
Ric Flair.
Joe says, got any good Rene Goulet stories? Seems like he was there forever.
Rene Goulet, I think the funniest one is when we were doing Doink the Clown, and we had Doink the Clown up in the stands before we even knew who he was. And the kids kind of all got around Doink, and Doink had fallen down the stairs around all these kids. And Rene had a radio, and all we heard in his French accent was, "The clown is down! The clown is down! The clown is down!" And we just use that forever.
Hypothetically, what would it sound like if Johnny Ace was to do Bobby Heenan's Not Fair to Flair?
Well, it's not fair to Flair, if you ask me. What'd be fair is if Vince was in there and I was able to oil him up, kind of like the Warlord going out right now.
Hogan and Savage are in the ring at the same time, but have zero physical interaction and stay completely away from each other. Do you think there was legit heat here by this point?
No, I don't. I don't think there was at this point at all. At least not that I knew of.
Anthony wants to know, how did Titan Time work in the early years of the Rumble when you were just using an arena scoreboard clock to count down?
Well, we didn't just use an arena scoreboard clock to count down. The only time that the arena scoreboard clock would come up is when there was 10 seconds left, and we decided when the 10 seconds was left.
Eric,
so it could be 90 seconds, 2 minutes, whatever we wanted.
Eric says, I know you get this question a lot, but why didn't you guys put the title on Virgil?
Well, I have to go back and change my answer. The person I would have put over in the Royal Rumble, still Ric Flair.
Aaron wants to know, hypothetically, what might it sound like if Roddy Piper sang "With My Baby Tonight"?
Oh, I spend my days working hard on the goal, fella. Kind of like Bill Shatner doing some of those songs.
Better manager, Mr. Fuji or Jimmy Hart?
Different. It's just different. They're both great.
Lou has a great question here. Why didn't Triple H win this Rumble?
I'm beginning to wonder that myself.
Chris writes, rumor and innuendo says that Hogan freaked out at Vince backstage after the show. Did you ever hear about that?
For what?
I don't know. So you didn't?
I don't either.
Okay. David wants to know, what did people think when Flair said the WWF title was the only title in wrestling that mattered?
Because it is.
There you go. Michael says, Ric Flair watched this with Conrad on the old Flair podcast and said jokingly when Greg Valentine got into the match, okay, everybody's going to get potatoed now. Out of all the guys in the Rumble, who was most notorious for being stiff in the ring?
Wow. That's a lot of guys. Valentine would be up there. Hercules, Duggan could be a little snug sometimes because he's blind, but not out of maliciousness. But there's a spot in there when you watch Valentine and Flair in the corner with the chops where Flair finally says enough with the chops and just turns and gets away from him.
We're down to 4 now. We've got Sid working with Macho Man in one corner, and on the far side, Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair, arguably the top 4. And there with a high knee to the back of Sid, it pushes Macho Man over the top. And now Flair's back to work with Hogan. We're down to 3.
The big 3. And see, and again, subliminal message there with Savage being dumped out by Flair so you can get to WrestleMania. Don't know if that's what they wanted, but hey, it worked.
Sid just watching as Hogan puts the boots to Flair, comes in behind him, throws Hogan out, and look at the crowd.
And the crowd pops.
They go banana. Everybody thought for sure Hogan's winning this and Hogan's world champ, but it doesn't happen. Sid talking a little smack to him,
which people liked. And again, it was different. And to me, had Sid not been just gone as heel there with his facials and stuff, and they missed the shot of Hogan, kind of grabbing there. But again, this to me is a total heel move on Hogan's part.
100%. But Hogan always worked as a heel.
He did. This is true. But sometimes it can be heel in a babyface way. And then there's just dick move. And to me, that was a dick move.
How crazy is the finish here? I mean, I think it's one of the more underrated finishes. I know everybody talks about the match and the performance that Rick had, but really great stuff when you see Piper and Martel go over, and then Savage, and then Hogan, and then Sid. It couldn't have been done any better. And now Hogan's in chasing Ric Flair after he lost. Clearly, give the man a minute to celebrate. You got to be fair to Flair.
Well, they got to get Flair back for his promo, but also you look at Rick and his mouth is about as dry can get, and he just wants water and air right now. But you don't even get the reunion of Bobby Heenan and Flair, and now it's all, again, you got a brand new champion. It's all about crowning a champion, and you got these 2 yahoos in the ring with Pat Patterson and Sneakers trying to separate them.
It does sort of diminish the title a little bit. It shows people what the real main event's going to be right here at WrestleMania.
Exactly. And it, was Hogan was bigger than the championship. And now, this whole thing was Sid, but people not letting him go at it at all. And Sid's not backing down at all. It just, again, man, if Sid had just backed up a little bit, it would have helped me with Sid being a heel, but he doesn't back up.
Right.
He stays there toe to toe with Hogan. So again, it's like he's standing, come on. It's who's the heel. Everything Sid's doing, no matter how heelish you want to say it is, it's babyface in this situation to me.
Brian wants to know, as far as Bruce knows, was anyone besides Flair ever considered?
I don't really know. Maybe Sid, but I have absolutely no idea who the hell they consider for this one.
Paul writes, do you think it was a mistake to turn Sid heel at this point? Between the 91 Survivor Series and this show, the crowd was obviously ready to cheer someone else besides Hogan.
Yeah. And I think that it would have been the right move for Sid to be the babyface here, just at least for this run. I don't know that Sid for the long run would have been the right guy as a babyface, but right here it would have been, in my opinion.
Chris wants to know, do you know how much it meant in real life for Piper to win a title? Was he just playing the part here, or was he excited to actually have a belt?
I think Roddy appreciated the nod, but he also knew he was an attraction and didn't need a belt.
Michael wants to know, any good Pat Tanaka stories? I don't know when we'll talk about him again.
Duke Muka-san, great bumper, but I don't really know.
So let's watch here. Of course, we're not going to hear it, but it's a pretty famous presentation. We're going to see the Winged Eagle Championship being presented directly to Ric Flair by Jack Tunney. Mean Gene's here holding the stick. And at some point, there's going to be a pretty famous moment that we get tons of questions about that people remember maybe more than almost anything in the promo, where Mean Gene yells at someone off camera and yells, "Put that cigarette out." Do you have any idea?
Classic. No, I don't. And that's, the funny thing is I was getting all of those tweets about that. And I didn't even realize it was this promo till I went back and saw With a Tear in My Eye, the greatest moment of my life. The only title in the world that means you're number one. And then, of course, Gene right here goes off camera and yells at someone to put that damn cigarette out. You got to love it. And Bobby, you know, and to me, you know, Bobby and them, it all ends on Ric Flair and a woo! But absolutely classic stuff right here. And to me, this was Flair's greatest WWE moment. This and his retirement.
One of the greatest promos of all time. You've got to go out of your way to see it. I mean, it's a great match. Shyster writes in, what's the noise the fans are making during entrance? I never heard that cowbell noise before or after this event. I'm not sure what makes that sound though. It
is actually a cowbell that people get, and they rattle it at football games, and they rattle it especially down here in Texas. They either have the spinner razor or they have a damn cowbell. And in the very beginning of this, it was aggravating as hell because it was all I heard. I thought it was the music, but you really hear it during the on cameras. And the other thing they do up in the Northeast a lot is they do the air horn, which is just aggravating as hell for TV.
Jamie wants to know, did Bruce think we should have had a Flair Hogan match at WrestleMania 8?
If they had done a personal issue with them and they'd actually shot an angle, yes.
Norris wants to know, the alliance of Flair, Perfect, and Heenan was one of the greatest units in wrestling to me. What were the plans for the unit had they not had to be split up due to the Ultimate Warrior leaving?
I have no idea.
Barry wants to know, is there anyone better in the business than Bobby Heenan putting people over at this show?
Nope. He's the best in the business. He was absolutely the best.
Joe wants to know, can Bruce explain to me what a blumpkin is?
Nope, not going to.
Jason wants to know, can you tell us any stories about Bobby traveling with Rick?
Didn't last long because Bobby's liver couldn't take it. And Bobby couldn't take being out all night, drinking every night with Rick, and he had to get off the road. He just couldn't take it.
Any Beverly Brothers stories or natural disaster stories you can share?
No, the famous, natural disaster story is just Earthquake and Kenji Katao in Japan, where Earthquake just basically totally punked him out in his home country and bitch slapped him.
Ladies and gentlemen, today's episode is brought to you by Blue Chew. We're coming to you from the Blue Chew studios, and the nights are getting longer, but the breeze isn't the only thing that's getting stiff. Come on, you know the deal. Guys, we all know confidence can take you far in life, but that's especially true in the bedroom when it's time to step up to the plate, and that's where Blue Chew comes in. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as both Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. Take these dudes anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. Now, the process is simple, y'all. You'll sign up at BlueChew.com. You'll consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Now, here's the best part. It's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office. That means no awkward conversations. That means no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew's tablets are made right here in the USA, folks, and they prepare and ship directly to your door, all in a discreet package. So if you could benefit from extra confidence when it's time to perform, chew it and do it. Let's have some better sex, shall we? We've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code WRESTLE at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com. The promo code is WRESTLE to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast. And Bruce's winner. Okay, let's get to the Royal Rumble match. Bret Hart and Luger tie in the Royal Rumble after 55 minutes and 8 seconds. The time of the entries was said to be cut down from 2 minutes to 1:30, but many were in the 1:40 range. Of course, this level of detail comes to us from the Wrestling Observer. Scott Steiner opens up with Samu as the first two entrants, and just as Samu has Scott almost over the top, it's Rick Steiner's time to come in, which is kind of interesting because It's the inverse of what you got with the War Games. Instead of two heels working on one baby face, it's about to be two faces working on a heel, which is right on time because Scott is nearly eliminated. But Rick just walked to the ring very slowly and didn't run in to save his brother. He instead takes time to shake people's hands and take his time. I found that kind of odd.
Well, the original idea was to start with Scott and Rick against each other. It goes back to, God damn, pal, brothers don't fight.
So they didn't say they didn't want to do it. Vince didn't want to do it.
Vince didn't want to do it. But we eased into it. If they're not 1 and 2.
Yeah, you can get there.
It's okay if they're in there at the same time. Then they're competing. I'm sitting there thinking, what the fuck is the difference?
Kind of a fun exit for Samu. He chokes himself on the ropes on the way out, which is kind of fun.
For who?
Well, it's a fun visual for me as a fan. I don't want to actually be choked by the ropes, but it's a cool visual, is it not?
It's a cool visual.
Quang was entrant number 4. Owen Hart was number 5, and Bart Gunn was number 6. Then Diesel would come in at number 7, and Diesel would go on to eliminate 7 folks, including Quang and Bart and Owen. He would also eliminate number 8, which is Bob Backlund, number 9, which is Billy Gunn, and 10, which is Virgil. And we got lots of tweets about the elbows that Diesel was throwing at Virgil here. That seemed like they were, woo.
They were a little snug, but I didn't think they were out of line in any way, shape, or form.
What did you think of Diesel's performance here in the Rumble? And I'm not asking that. I know some people are going to say I'm shitting on Kevin, but the reason I'm singling him out is it seems as if the Titan style of booking the Rumble for a long time has been you make Roman look strong. I mean, you got to get somebody over strong and with a lot of eliminations, whether it's Kane or it's Roman or it's Diesel. Well, this year it was Diesel. We talked about the 97 Royal Rumble before. It's in our archives. Well, that was clearly Steve Austin's time to shine. Well, here, Diesel has 7 eliminations, so he's certainly kind of the featured guy in this match. Is that fair to say?
Without a doubt. I thought that he looked great in it. I thought it helped establish that Diesel character and brought him into his own.
He would eventually be eliminated after 17 minutes and 41 seconds, but it would take Mabel, Bam Bam Bigelow, Sparky Plug, Shawn Michaels, and Crush to get him out. So quite a push for him here in the match. Randy Savage would come in at number 11. He would be eliminated by Crush, and that furthered their feud, which would obviously culminate in a WrestleMania 10 match.
Oh, don't remind me.
Jeff Jarrett would be number 12. He would be eliminated by Randy Savage.
Spend my days working hard on the go, but the hands on the clock keep spinning too slow. I can't wait to be alone with my baby tonight.
Let's be real. You knew that song was coming, so at least we got it out of the way. Number 13 was Crush. He would be eliminated by Lex Luger, Sparky Plug, Bret Hart, and Bam Bam Bigelow.
Shaka bra.
Number 14 is Doink the Clown. He would be eliminated by Bam Bam Bigelow. Who was playing Doink at this point?
That would be Ray Apollo.
What might we know Ray Apollo from besides Doink?
You wouldn't.
Okay. Number 15 was Bam Bam Bigelow. He was eliminated by Lex Luger. Number 16 was Mabel. And Mabel was eliminated after roughly 10 minutes by Greg Valentine, Tatanka, The Great Kabuki, Crush, Bam Bam Bigelow, Sparky Plug, and Shawn Michaels. So it took a whole team of folks to get him out. Number 17 was Sparky Plug, and he was eliminated after 21 minutes. So a great debut for Sparky Plug here. He would be eliminated by Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. Number 18 would be Shawn Michaels. He would be eliminated by Lex Luger after 29 minutes. So another really nice performance from Shawn in the Rumble. Number 19 would be Mo, a guy we haven't ever talked about here on the show as far as I know. And believe it or not, he made it 22 minutes and managed to eliminate no one before being eliminated by Fatu himself. Any stories about Mo you want to touch on, or just circle back to him when we're talking SummerSlam or something else?
Yeah, we'll circle back.
Greg the Hammer Valentine was number 20. He was eliminated by Rick Martel. He had a long run as well, running about 20 minutes. Tatanka was number 21. He was eliminated by Bam Bam Bigelow after 20 minutes. The Great Kabuki was in at number 22. He lasted all of 2 minutes and 46 seconds before Lex Luger threw him out.
Nothing like a 16-hour trip from Japan. But he was involved in the Undertaker match. So.
Yeah.
Kabuki.
Lex Luger would be entrant number 23, and as we all know, he would be co-winner. He made it 21 minutes and 58 seconds. Number 24 was Tenryu, and he was eliminated by both Bret Hart and Lex Luger. Was there some sort of agreement amongst these Japanese stars when they're coming in? Hey, we're going to get eliminated by the guys who win it, the headliners?
No. Okay.
It just seems like to me, if they're going to be thrown out and they're coming over and doing a favor, they should be thrown out by the tippy top.
No.
All right. 25 is Bastion Booger. He was unable to compete. 20. So there was 29 guys on this. I'm just mentioning, not 30. 26 is Rick Martel, and he would be eliminated by Tatanka after 11 minutes. Bret Hart would make it 15 minutes at number 27 before being co-winner. Number 28 was Fatu. He was eliminated by Bret Hart. Number 29 is Marty Jannetty. He was eliminated by Shawn Michaels. And then number 30, the coveted number 30 spot was Adam Bomb. He, too, was eliminated by Lex Luger. Luger had 6 eliminations in the match. Bret had 4. Bam Bam Bigelow had 5. The big winner, of course, though, is Diesel. Diesel had 7 folks that he eliminated. Anything stand out to you in particular about this match and the way it was built up?
No, it was pretty much built up for that one purpose. Obviously, Bret came out late, with the injured knee from earlier on in the night. So people didn't know if Bret was going to make it. Will Bret Hart actually be in the Rumble match itself? And then Bret came out, Spirit of 76, for lack of a better term, to come out and be one of the last 2 people in the match. So it was a good story throughout the entire night, from the tag team match with Bret and Owen to Bret, is he going to make it, is he not going to make it, to actually being one of the winners. Because and again, to the people that read and call out in California and critique everything and choose not to find any joy in anything, that they would look at Bret and Owen earlier in the night and taking Bret out on a stretcher is, well, that's how they're going to get Luger over in the Rumble.
With the way Diesel eliminates Bob Backlund, because Backlund was a firm heel here, doesn't it start to tease that Diesel's going to be a babyface here? Or when do you think the Diesel babyface turn really starts, if not here?
This wasn't so much.
Turn your mic on, it'll be more helpful.
This wasn't so much the turn of Diesel or even experimenting with that. This was more the experimenting of seeing how Diesel would be as a single.
Okay.
So that there was really not even any foreshadowing or really any thought at that point of Diesel being a babyface even.
Who was an advocate for Diesel? In my head, that's a Vince guy.
I think we all were at the time.
Okay.
Big, good-looking guy, and we wanted to, again, it's an opportunity that you can gauge the crowd reaction to somebody by putting them in the ring with a lot of different people and a lot of different stars, see how the crowd reacts to them, whether they buy them or not. And that kind of tells you, well, shit, this guy might be able to spin off on his own and do okay.
So let's run through briefly, when we're talking about the finish of this match, Bret Hart and Lex Luger are going to tie. That can't be a simple thing to kind of get right. And it seems as if maybe purposefully there weren't tons of shots of them landing because you wanted to make sure that nobody could poke holes in it necessarily. Talk us through how a finish for a tie like that happens and what the strategy about the way it's shot might have been.
Well, a couple things. It can be very easy and it can be very difficult depending upon the talent that you have in there. And by putting a guy like Bret Hart in there, putting a guy like Shawn Michaels in there, I think you feel a whole lot more confident and comfortable with them being in control of a situation like that. In this one in particular, Bret Hart was in complete control So Brett was in control of his body. He was in control of Luger's body. And we knew that it was going to be on the money. The way that it was shot was purposefully, folks. No, we didn't screw up, and what shitty cameraman and what shitty director we have. For once, purposely, Kerwin had horrible shots. The shots were made to look so that you never actually really saw the...
And that happens all the time in football and other sports that have replays. You can't tell it from every angle.
But what we also had was we had someone in the crowd on the opposite the hard camera side with a little camera that shot it so that we had it clean.
If it worked.
If it worked. And then we also had it clean on other cameras. But the ones that we used and showed, every one of them were obstructed just at the right angle so that you can go, oh, Brett hit first on this one, or on this other one. It's like Luger hit first on that one. So you had the illusion, both sides, that the other guy won.
How many times? Y'all have to practice this. You don't just do it live. Before the show, y'all...
Brett and Luger, I think, went over it a couple times earlier in the day.
I mean, as far as with directors and the shots, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you got to.
But this would have been something you do at the event.
Yes.
Okay.
They have.
A few more notes from the Observer from the February 14th edition. The latest estimates for the Royal Rumble at that time were that it did about 205,000 buys, which would be a 0.9 buy rate, which would estimate to a $2.3 million Titan gross. And that appeared to be up slightly from Survivor Series, but still down significantly than any other Titan pay-per-view in history. That would represent a 25% buy rate drop as compared to the year prior, the 93 Royal Rumble. So even with the increase in television viewership and really strong showings for the Monday Night Raw ratings, it didn't translate into more people attending the house shows or purchasing the pay-per-view events. By comparison, the 93 Rumble drew 16,000 folks for a $187,000 gate, and it did a 1.2 buy rate for a $2.8 million gross. Those numbers again for the 94 Rumble were 14,500 folks in a sellout for a $160,000 gate for a 0.9 buy rate and roughly $2.3 million in gross. Would you classify the 94 Rumble as a success for the WWF, or would you call it a disappointment?
That's always disappointment when you do less than what you've done previously.
Right.
And business at that time was on the downturn. So it was, man, we were fighting and scrapping for everything that we could get. And we were going into the 10th anniversary of WrestleMania. So we were looking for some good momentum to get us there. And thank God we did it in the Garden and in New York, because I dare say that anything that we would do there would do good business for a big event like WrestleMania. But business was rough all over. So at this time, to do a sellout live, we were happy for. But at the end of the day, you just got to look yourself in the mirror and say that maybe the product that we presented and the card that we presented, hey, just not as many people want to see it. That's on us.
Overall, what did you think of the show?
Overall, I like the show because you remember the finish. You remember the last thing you see, and I thought it was an intriguing finish and one that hopefully would get people interested and make them want to tune in the next night and also hopefully tune in and buy WrestleMania. I liked it. I enjoyed the theatrics with The Undertaker. That's me. Some people obviously didn't.
Let's get going here on the Royal Rumble. Number 1, Shawn Michaels. Of course, he's going to win this one. He's going to last longer than anybody, and he's going to have the most eliminations, 8 here. The British Bulldog is out next, and he's going to be there at the very end too, so he's going to last almost as long as Shawn Michaels, just 1 second less, of course. Next up, we've got Eli Blue, who we've talked about a little bit under different names. You remember the Harris brothers. And then Duke the Dumpster Drosay. Haven't spent a lot of time talking about him. He comes in at number 4. What do you remember about old Duke?
Nice guy. And that was about it. Mike Grossi was probably too nice for this business. And he was the kind of guy that would believe everything anybody would tell him. And it just, he super nice guy, but I don't think he was meant for the business.
I think he's in Tennessee these days. Let's keep it moving. Let's talk about next up, another guy we don't talk about a lot. Number 5, Jimmy Del Rey. And this is, he had an interesting run in the company, to say the least. We lost him, 6 or 7 years ago. I think he suffered a heart attack while he was driving and unfortunately passed away. But he had an interesting end to his run here with the company. I think a lot of fans remember him as being a big part of Smoky Mountain Wrestling, but he was involved with the World Wrestling Federation as well. What do you remember?
He was one half of the Heavenly Bodies with Tom. And he was Jimmy Backlund. He had worked in Florida, but I didn't know much about him before he came in. He was kind of one of those unknown guys that got into a spot and had his 15 minutes of fame, but, not a lot after he left. And was just kind of one of those journeymen that came through and had a little bit of a run and moved on.
If you haven't, you need to go out of your way to see Kevin Nash tell the story of Jimmy Del Rey's final incident with the company. Do you remember hearing about that? The quote unquote helter skelter, where allegedly he laid with a lady who may or may not have been on her period. And
oh God, I don't need to hear that shit. Yeah, what the fuck?
I think he allegedly he put some housey on.
Oh God,
shaved her head.
No. What the fuck?
Coming up next, we've got who we know as the Barbarian, but you guys had decided to call him something different here at number 6. Why are you changing the Barbarian's name? By the way, it's his real first name, but why?
He was Sione. I really don't know. I heard that. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Fucking Barb. I dumbfounded for an answer there.
Next up, Dr. Tom Prichard, who we know is almost universally loved. Number 8, Doink the Clown. Number 7, we've thought about this for a long time.
Quang.
I think it's Kwong.
No, it's not Kwong.
You're going Quang.
He's in Alabama, call him Kwong.
Well, I mean, some people call him TNT. I know him as Savio Vega. He's in at number 9. Then Rick Martel, which seems like from another era. Then Owen Hart in at number 11. At number 12, Timothy Well. I don't know when we're going to talk about him again. We lost him, just a couple of years ago. Went away way too early, passing away at the very young age of 55. We knew him as Rex King. We knew him as Timothy Well. He's part of Well Done. My goodness. What do you remember about this?
Oh boy, Rex was up there on the paranoid meter. I think that if he would have gotten out of his own way, that he did all right. It just was, there's some guys that are meant to fill out the card, and Rex was one of those guys who was meant to fill out the card. It wasn't a lot of personality there, or not a special look or anything else, but he could definitely go when the bell rang.
Next up at number 13, we've got Bushwhacker Luke. He's only going to be in here 12 seconds. He's in and out. I guess it's worth mentioning. Owen Hart was out in 3 seconds. Timothy Well, he's out in 23 seconds. Bushwhacker Luke, he's out in 12 seconds. And then Jacob Blue, he's out in 17 seconds at number 14. King Kong Bundy comes in at number 15. Mo is in at number 16. What's your favorite Mo match?
I'd definitely say this one.
Yeah. Mo did a great job here.
Yeah. I could have done a little less time, but
yeah, 3 seconds is what it did here.
Yeah.
Number 17, it's Mabel. Number 18, Bushwhacker Butch. Number 19, it's Lex Luger. Number 20, your favorite and mine, Mantar.
Mm.
You believe
he had hooves?
I just want to remind everybody that Mantar right now, as we speak, is just 2 years younger than Chris Jericho.
Yeah, he was a youngster.
I'm just saying.
Hell of an amateur, too.
Mantar could be your champion real soon. 21, Aldo Montoya. 22, a giant of a man, Henry O. Godwin. 23, another giant of a man, Billy Gunn. 24, Bart Gunn. 25, Bob Backlund to a big pop. 26, Stephen Dunn. 27, Dick Murdoch. What in the world? I can't believe Dick Murdoch was in this. Of course, we know Dick would only live another 18 months or so. He passed away in June of 96, but I don't remember him ever being here. And here he was. How does this come to be?
Well, the entrance for the Royal Rumble, it went out worldwide, and Dick got his entry fee in early to be a participant in the Royal Rumble. So he was one of the lucky ones that made it through the application process. And threw a fucking drop kick in the match.
Serious business. Who pushed for Murdoch to be on?
We would always look for that outside guy, one or two that you're like, what the fuck? And Dick was our what the fuck this year. I think that Dick had called, or somebody had a conversation with him at some point, and are going, what about Dick Murdoch? Great. See if he's available.
It is like crazy to think that he was involved in this.
And one of the last ones in the ring.
Yeah. I mean, you would think it would have been somewhere else, but it wasn't. It's just, I don't know. Interesting to me. And the year before,
he and Butch Reed were over in Florida.
No argument from me. The year before, you guys did something similar when you had Tenryu and the great Kabuki in there, which really
He's just an Arab boy, Kabuki.
But you got the next year, you've got like Squat Teamer number 1 and Squat Teamer number 2. Of course, the Headhunters. And then Dory Funk was in that one, and yeah, you guys were doing some weird stuff during the Rumbles back here. 28, Adam Bomb. 29, Fatu, who we know is going to go on to be Rikishi. And number 30, Crush. So we got both Brian Clark and Brian Adams here. Not the most star-studded affair, but they did a good job with it. Of course, the finish comes down to an interesting moment here. We've got Crush sort of pressing Shawn Michaels over his head, sort of Ric Flair Sting style, but he does a couple of reps with him. But Shawn lands in the ring, and then Davey Boy clotheslines Crush over the top. Michaels is putting on a show, taking some bumps for Davey Boy. Eventually, Davey Boy clotheslines Shawn Michaels over. It looks like he's eliminated, but Shawn's holding on to the top rope with one hand, the middle rope with the other. Only one foot touches the floor. They've got the camera set up perfectly on either side, and 2 referees notice and indicate that only 1 foot has hit the floor. Eventually, Bulldog thinks he's won the thing. They cue his music. His music starts playing. He goes to the middle rope, camera side, to celebrate. We've got a tight shot on him. And then out of nowhere, Shawn hits him with the old axe handle in the back. Davey Boy tumbles out. Then the bell rings, and the referees are trying to raise Shawn's hand and let everybody know that the winner, because only 1 foot touched, is Shawn Michaels. And they're careful on the original showing to not air a clean shot of Shawn landing in case it wasn't perfect, but he did it perfectly. Only had 1 foot there. 3.5 stars. What'd you think of the match? What'd you think of the finish?
Actually, I'd been reading on Twitter and a lot of the tweets, and it felt like people thought this was like the worst Rumble match ever. I thought it was damn good. It told a great story of Shawn and Davey Boy all the way through. We integrated the stories with Brett and Owen and Backlund and all that other shit within the match. And all the way through, you have the consistent story of, is Shawn Michaels going to last till the end? Is Davey Boy Smith going to last to the end? And the first two guys that start the damn thing ended the damn thing. And it was just masterfully done, in my opinion. And yes, I'm prejudiced. Put it together with Patrick. So yeah, I'm definitely prejudiced, and I have a little bit of pride of authorship there. But it was just done to perfection. And Shawn, it was Shawn's idea for the 1 foot. He was like, hey, both feet have to hit. What happens if only one hits? So we'll both have to hit. And he had this crazy idea is, man, if you touch, we're fucked. And we figured out how to shoot it and make sure that we weren't going to get caught live. But he was like, I ain't going to touch. Trust me. I'm going to come close, but I ain't going to touch. And he never did. And just that story, Davey thought he won, man. It's all the celebration, and that fucker's still hanging on. And shit, it just felt really good. And going back all these years later and watching it, knowing very few people knew. We even started Bulldog's music when Bulldog, went over, and the one referee inside, raised Bulldog's hand. We hit his music like it was a mistake. And, oh, my God, Bulldog won. Everybody thought, wait a minute. The referee's outside. Only one's touched. Great story.
It was a great story. Very well done. We should mention Shawn Michaels had been out of action for a little while leading up to this Rumble because he had 2 pins put in his hand. And this Rumble match marks his return to TV. But he was working some house shows here and there on the way here. Let's keep rolling here. Let's talk about the Rumble match itself. We're not closing the show with the Rumble. We're closing with the championship. Man, there's a lot of interesting stuff happening in this Rumble. And I got to tell you, I didn't remember half of the participants that were sort of surprises ever even being in a Rumble until I watched it back. But we got Hunter Hearst Helmsley coming in number 1. Henry O'Godwin comes in number 2. Backlund 3. Jerry Lawler comes in number 4. Lawler stays a long time too, 36 minutes and 2 seconds. It feels like a lot of times Lawler's in-ring stuff was almost dismissed once his feud with Brett was over, at least in my opinion. But he's here for over half an hour. Were you guys thinking about maybe doing something different, or was just, it is what it is. We know he can do it. So go have fun.
Well, he wasn't in it the whole time either, and he was able to hide under the ring, and it was a good story that the King was trying to outsmart people and, get in and out and be seen. And I just thought it was a good story for Jerry, and it was a little bit of a let up in the Rumble itself.
It's great let up, but I guess normally when you see somebody do that, like, and again, I know we don't talk about current stuff, but we just saw Randy Orton do something like that in the more recent Rumble, but that usually means, hey, they're going to do something moving up the card. And it feels like he's mostly going to be an announcer after this, but it is really well done.
Hey, Jerry Lawler.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. I mean, one of the all-time greats on a lot of people's Mount Rushmore. Next up, Bob Holly. He gets in there for 39 minutes and 35 seconds. King Mabel is out next, then Jake Roberts. And then check this one out. Dory Funk Jr. He's in there 10 minutes and 53 seconds. You've often talked about him as being one of your all-time favorites. Is Dory being in this Rumble a Bruce call?
I think I did make the call, as a matter of fact, to Dory. And it was during a time that we would often reach out to some old timers and guys who had never competed. Junior, of course, had competed previously as Hoss Funk in the WWF at the time. But Junior was someone that why not? He was out there. It was a little bit of nostalgia, and I got to see my hero in the Royal Rumble.
That's pretty cool. Let's talk about the next person in the ring here. It's Yokozuna, and he's going to go 19 minutes and 14 seconds. Then the 1-2-3 Kid comes out, and then we get a Japanese competitor, and boy, I'm going to butcher his name, Omori. How does this come to be? I don't remember us ever even having a conversation about him being in the Rumble here.
Yeah, I don't think anybody else has ever had a conversation about him being in the Rumble either. I think this was one of those, JJ Dillon during the time that we were, I don't know that we had gotten to the point of Tenryu's company yet, but JJ, often working with Sato and trying to work with different
promotions,
folks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for all I know, it also could have been Dory Jr. saying, hey, I've got this guy from All Japan, but, it was, nobody else really remembers. I sure as hell didn't. I was like, what the fuck?
He's only in there for 2 minutes and 48 seconds. Hunter and Jake eliminate him. He had 0 eliminations. Oh, I guess we should mention Dory Funk Jr. also had 0 eliminations, but he's in there nearly 11 minutes, 10 minutes and 53 seconds. After him, it's Savio Vega and then Vader. Vader has 4 eliminations in just 11 minutes, but then 3 in a row that are kind of interesting. Doug Gilbert is 0, eliminations. He's in there just under 3 minutes. But you talk about a Memphis staple, Doug Gilbert. How in the world does he get the nod?
Well, Doug and I were friends. Doug had the brother of Eddie Gilbert. Doug was, good Lord, obviously much younger at the time. And I had worked with Doug while I was at the Global Wrestling Federation when Eddie was booking there. So it was, hey man, we were often looking for different names and people. The independent scene, it was a little bit different then. It was promotions in the South, and Doug was working in Tennessee at the time. People go, what the fuck? Doug Gilbert. And I didn't think that Doug would embarrass himself or me or anybody else, and thought it was, why not?
Is this before or after he went way off script on Memphis TV? This has to be before.
Oh,
right?
This was way before. Yes,
man, that was something else. Okay. So let's keep it going here. Talk about who's next, because we've already touched on them a little bit, but I do think it's worth mentioning again. We get Headhunter number 1 and Headhunter number 2. I guess we're calling them Squatter 1 and Squat Teamer 2, What did you call them, Bruce?
I call them damn headhunters.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody does. By the way, as we mentioned, they're not in there very long. 171 seconds. Once 24 seconds. Then Owen Hart.
Combined.
That's like 7 minutes.
2 fucking minutes, man.
Yeah. Owen Hart's in there next.
Get into the seconds that is, because that's in the fucking 3 digits.
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Owen Hart goes 20 minutes, 43 seconds. And then Shawn Michaels. He's ultimately going to win, as we know. He's in there 26 minutes total. He has 8 eliminations, which is the most of anyone. Although Hunter is actually the Iron Man and he lasts longer than anyone. Kushi is next. He's only in there for 153. And then Tatanka. Tatanka. He wrestles his last match for the company on TV, March 19th, 1996. You want to tell us about Tatanka?
I love Tatanka. I thought it was I thought he had a hell of a little run there. And
no. You've teased the story a few times where there was this big discussion about bringing Tatanka back. That was years later.
Oh God!
And you're like, it's a whole story. So not today.
Oh God damn! Yeah, no. That no.
Okay.
Probably not. I don't know if I could ever tell that story, but that was
Well, just tell it when you get fired again.
No, because it would be, I think that it's the folks that were represented in that story do not represent the people they were representing. if that makes any sense at all.
I understand.
And the Native American people that have worked so hard, and when you look at it, that somebody came over here and basically stole their land and took it from them, as JBL said, with a bag of beads and some pot. It's like, come on, man. And it was a shame, some of the people that we worked with at the time, because that presented themselves as something that they weren't. And that's all. It just I have so much respect. Jerry Briscoe's a Native American, and Gerald is so proud, and it's one of those that you don't want to touch. And it was like, God damn, man, it was craziness. But not during this time. I love Tatanka. I love Tatanka then too.
And now you love Tatanka then, now, forever.
Actually, I did. I saw him recently, gave him a big hug. It hadn't changed a bit.
Next up, a guy who has changed a little bit, Aldo Montoya. How about this? He won't be for long. 1 minute and 52 seconds, 0 eliminations. Then Diesel, Big Daddy Cool, comes in at number 22. He's in for 17:51 with 5 eliminations. Kama is in after him. He's also in for 15.
Wait a minute. How did you know that it was Big Daddy Cool time to come out, Diesel? Because
tell me about
big horn, right?
I love you for that.
It was an opportunity. It was there. I've been trying to figure out a way without doing it, hitting the button, fucking that up again. You know me and technology.
Tell me about Kama. He leaves after this match. I've always thought this is sort of an interesting story. He's taken off television in the fall of 95, and after an appearance here at the 96 Rumble, he's gone. And shortly after leaving, according to the rumor and innuendo, he had a verbal contract, or he verbally agreed to join WCW as the enforcer for the NWO, but then never hears from him again, and then sees, wait a minute, Virgil's there. And it's not too terribly long, and he's back with you guys in 1997. I think the original plan was for him to be Papa Shango, but then they decide we're going to have him join the Nation of Domination. But this is it for him. And in this era, he's working the Supreme Fighting Machine look. And this is also a time when Ultimate Fighting and MMA and no holds barred is like a buzzword. Chat me up about what happened with him and why he was gone after the company, or from the company, after this show.
The gimmick, the Supreme Fighting Machine, it just didn't work. I don't know if people didn't believe it. It just didn't click. It didn't work. And, nobody bought it. It just wasn't a good gimmick, in my opinion, for him. And I was prejudiced. And here's the funny thing, man. I never, with the exception, very, very little, I didn't get to work with Papa Shango that much. That Papa Shango run was after I'd left the company. But I was always just amazed at the Papa Shango gimmick. And I thought there was so much more to that, that they could have done with Papa Shango, the gimmick. I would have gone a lot further than they went, just saying. And I just was always intrigued by that gimmick.
Next up, we've got the Ringmaster. That's right. Stone Cold Steve Austin has his first Rumble. Of course, the following year, he's going to set the woods on fire, win the damn thing. But this is his first appearance. Here he's using the Ringmaster. He's got the blonde hair. He's a ring technician. He's a part of $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase's stable. And you even hear Vince McMahon call him Steve Austin, known as the Ringmaster. And Meltzer would say it was amazing to see the physical difference in Austin compared with just a few weeks ago in ECW. And I'm sure Dave has some inference there. Maybe I shouldn't say I'm sure. It reads like he does. But I think it's understood that A, ECW was using tapes, and B, you're damn right, when you're going to make a big shot on a big pay-per-view for the big company, you're not going out there soft if you can help it. You're going to do everything you can to dial it in, right?
Well, I thought Steve came in great shape and looked tremendous. I don't know what Dave's referring to, maybe in his lifestyle. I don't know.
No, he's saying the same thing you are. He's just saying he didn't look that way. Anyway, Barry Horowitz is out next. That's where we are in the WWE here. Barry Horowitz is number 24.
Barry was fucking over.
I'm not arguing that. He just beat Skip.
That's right.
Next up is Fatu. And then your boy, Isaac Yankem, DDS. He's in at number 27. Boy, there's some regrettable shit in here. Next up is Marty Jannetty. He's only here for 2 minutes and 35 seconds before the Bulldog dumps him out. Speaking of the Bulldog, he's in next at number 29. And last is Duke the Dumpster Drose. And he's in for 1 minute and 10 seconds. Somebody else I want to mention, King Mabel. He's gone until 1998 after this show. Why was it time for Mabel to go learn a new hold after this show?
I think it was just time. I think that we had done everything at that point that we could do with Mabel. And in addition to that, some of the injuries that were, caused with Mabel being on the other end that probably hastened that decision a little bit. And yeah, it was just time more than anything.
We haven't talked a lot about the commentary on this show, but the interviewers here are Doc Hendricks and Todd Pettengill. The ring announcer, of course, is Howard Finkel, but on commentary, it's Vince McMahon and Mr. Perfect. How'd you think Perfect did as a companion for Vince?
In the early years, I thought Perfect was great on color commentary. And when we brought Kurt back, I think that, I don't know. I just don't think that Kurt was there, as good as he was in the earlier years doing color. I don't know if it was because, he'd had another run in the ring and now he's back commentary. There were just a lot of factors that were going on, and the Mr. Perfect that had done the commentary originally when he came in the first time, I just thought he was much better at that time.
Let's talk a little bit about Steve Austin again, and then we'll get into the finals of the match. But there's rumor and innuendo out there that Steve Austin was accidentally eliminated. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but he's supposedly accidentally eliminated because he slips on the rope and falls out while he's doing a spot with Fatu. So he's legitimately out, but he was supposed to be in the final four. Do you believe that to be the truth?
That could happen. I really don't. I don't remember that specifically, but I could definitely see it happening. Yes, I always liked it when guys would say, "Why the fuck did you get it wasn't your time to get eliminated?" Well, the guy threw me out.
Yeah,
motherfucker. When you're supposed to go out. So I really don't recall on that one. I don't remember that.
Well, we know the circumstance that happens in 2005 with Cena and Batista, right? But in that instance where someone is accidentally eliminated and it was supposed to be part of something that was in the plans, would there have been panic backstage, or does someone on a headset just send in word to a referee and an IFB and they communicate it to the boys and call an audible, or is it up to the boys?
Yeah, we didn't have IFBs then at that point. It's figured out.
There you go. So here's the finish. Owen Hart, after being eliminated, came back out to attack Shawn Michaels. And at 58:03, Michaels drop kicks, yank him out. At 58:11, Diesel and Kama throw out Duke. And now we're down to Diesel, Michaels, Kama, and Davey Boy. Michaels is going to clothesline Davey Boy over the top rope at 58:32, followed by Diesel throwing out Kama at 58:45. And then finally, Michaels would super kick Diesel over the top in 58:49. And after the match, they tease that Diesel is going to attack Shawn, but instead they do their high five routine. Meltzer gave it 2.5 stars. So these guys main evented WrestleMania. One's now a good guy. One's about to be a bad guy, certainly showing shades of that. But instead of teasing it, they let the fans know, nope, we're still boys. High five. In hindsight, was that the right play, or should we have let the tension build, do you think?
Oh, we got to the tension. And at that time, when everybody thinks that you're going one way, you go someplace else.
Okay.
And I thought it was a nice little thing because I thought everybody in the arena and at home were thinking, okay, here comes the attack.
So at
You
this
don't
point,
give it to 'em.
at this point, you already had, I guess that's where I was going. Royal Rumble in your house, WrestleMania. And we know at WrestleMania, Sean's becoming the new champ. So on the next In Your House, it's going to be Sean and Diesel. You already had that mapped out here at the Rumble, right?
In our head, yeah.
So it's the Click Show, as we said. Shawn Michaels has the most eliminations. He has 8.
It's a talent that you have that's over on the show.
The second most eliminations is Diesel. He's got 5. The longest time spent in the Rumble is Hunter Hearst Helmsley, 48:04. Following Sean's victory, this is the big thing that people still talk about to this day. He starts stripping to the point where it feels like, we're getting kind of low with them britches. And he looks at Vince and eventually pulls him back up. I mean, he's showing the world his pubes here a little bit. This is a little weird. What was your reaction?
You've shown the world your pubes before.
I mean, I think you said Cornette did at a show in Detroit, but I wasn't
show
there.
more than his pubes.
Chat me up. What are you thinking? I assume you're in Gorilla for this show.
Probably, yeah.
When you see Sean doing his striptease and taking it this far, are you like talking to Vince? Like, what the fuck is he doing?
No, I had no, there was never anyone that sat there and go, oh my God, he's going to expose himself. He's going to take it as far as he can go and then tease it.
I guess my question is, if he's going to be your top guy and your baby face, this just makes guys hate him, right? I mean, I know the girls love him. I'm not arguing that, but I mean, come on, man. This is how guys hate him, right?
You liked him.
No, I wasn't even watching wrestling here. All right, guys, we got to run a timeout right now to brag about something that is a part of our regular everyday routine. Of course, I'm talking about AG1. Bruce and I are big believers in athletic greens. Actually, my wife turned it on to us a few years ago at the start of the pandemic. We've been using it ever since. Now, we started because we wanted to optimize our immune system, but along the way, we've noticed we have more energy, better gut health. And let's just be honest, if you want me to take a pill or supplement or vitamin, it better taste good. This checks all my boxes, man. Now, what is this stuff? Well, with one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. Everything you need to start your day right. This special blend of ingredients better supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, your focus, your recovery, your aging, all of your things. It's also lifestyle friendly. Whether you're trying to eat keto or paleo or vegan or dairy-free or gluten-free, AG1 has less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, but it still tastes good. You'll also realize that it supports better sleep quality and recovery, better mental clarity and alertness. We like to think of it as like your all-in-one nutritional insurance. So here's the deal. Don't take our word for it. Go check out their reviews. They've got more than 7,000 5-star reviews. And Bruce and I believe it's time for you to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you got to do is visit athleticgreens.com/Foley. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/Foley to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Hey guys, I'm pumped to brag about a brand new sponsor here on the program and is a personal friend of mine for many, many years. I'm talking to you about Camper Max, specializing in max discounted pricing on travel trailers and fifth wheel RVs that can be delivered anywhere in the lower 48. That's right, from your office, your cell phone, or your couch. Click or call and find out how easy it is to start enjoying that RVing lifestyle. Now, how easy is it? Well, the Camper Max discount will fit any budget, offering easy financing with extended terms. It's just too easy thanks to my pal, Rod Wagner. I've been personal friends with Rod for a long, long time, and he is now opening up to the entire lower 48. So if you're here in the United States and you're thinking about buying a travel trailer, you're thinking about buying a fifth wheel RV, or maybe you're thinking of selling yours, visit my buddy Rod at campermax.com. That's CAMPERMAXX.com, campermax.com. That's Max with 2 X's. Or give him a call, 256-320-7033. Either way, let the folks at Camper Max know that Conrad sent you, and they're going to give you that friend of a friend hookup that I've enjoyed for so many years. Camper Max is the home of the Max discount. That's campermax.com, campermaxx.com. By the way, if you're looking to purchase a motorhome, hang in there. My buddy Rod is working on that now. It's all going down at campermax.com. Let's get out there. Let's enjoy 2023. This could be one heck of a new year, thanks to campermax.com or 256-320-7033, and let them know that Conrad sent you. Yeah.
So let's talk about the ticket prices again. You kind of mentioned that live events and folks like that would have been involved in it, and you guys would have been involved in it. Do they make suggestions to Vince, and do they have like data? I'm just curious, when you get a report like this, like here's the census data, here's what the economics are, here's the median household income. Is there any sort of scientific process put into this, or is, well, hell, $5 sounds good, let's do that?
No, we compare ourselves. We would constantly compare ourselves to Ringling Brothers. We compare ourselves to the Globetrotters. We looked at what the local market, if they had a basketball team, what their prices were. And we tried to be, for the most part, especially in a market like San Antonio, that we were going to come into this huge event. We wanted to be family friendly as well. And we wanted to be affordable. And when you hear people talk about trying to go take a family of 4 to a live event, it's almost cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make it affordable for families and for kids, and want to get as many people in there as we could, make it affordable.
So even though they draw a big house here with 60,000 butts and seats, they're still well shy of the 71,000 folks that they had promoted on television, and some of the top sections are tarped off for TV, and you can briefly see them on the show, but I feel like you guys did a really good job shooting around it. And Cornette famously said, this was a stadium that needed a show and not a show that needed a stadium. And I just think that's a brilliant way to put it. Was that the common feeling amongst any of the office, that this is a big task to try to fill this up, and it was all hands on deck to worry about marketing and strategies and angles, and everybody's got to be at their best and sharpen their pencils?
Sure. I mean, that's a cute way of saying it, and it's accurate. But it's, yeah, without a doubt, man, Vince wanted that son of a bitch sold. We were going to do whatever we had to do to sell it.
Fink would announce on the show that the attendance was actually lower than the real number. Surprise, surprise there. We've talked about attendance enough. I don't want to get off on that again, but he announces 60,477 compared to 60,525. And that's the number that both Cornette and Meltzer have. They have the exact same figures for the attendance and gate, and you can draw your own conclusions there.
I wonder who got it from who.
Roll Tide. Meltzer would report after the show that these figures all topped even the most optimistic expectations within the company. So I want you to kind of respond to that, Bruce, and talk me through, you know, what the inner circle thought was realistic and what the expectation was, who was for it, who was against it, what did the talent think, anything you remember.
We were looking for, I think everyone would have been happy if we had done 50,000 people. And of course we wanted to fill the damn thing. We would love to put 70,000 plus in there, but realistically, I think we would have been happy if we did 50,000. That would have looked good.
Let me ask this. Perception is reality, and it is a lot about expectation. In hindsight, would it have made more sense to just pound 50,000 people on TV and say 50,000, 50,000, 50,000, 50,000, and then announce 60,000 as opposed to say 71, 71, 71, 71, and then announce 60?
No. Why would you do that? You want to do 71,000, it holds 71,000, so you want to plug 71,000. Had we done it the other, had we done, okay, the 50,000, then the Meltzers of the world would, well, they're not confident in their show at all. They only are going to put 50,000 in there. You're damned if you do and damned if you don't. We wanted to sell it out. We wanted to promote selling the damn thing out.
Yeah.
We wanted to promote, come be a part of history, come be a part of a record-breaking crowd.
But here's what I'm saying. If you tarp part of the shit off and you say you're setting it up for 50,000, then you can claim a sellout. Why would you not want, if you really want to sell it out and you have the ability to tarp something off for the staging or
why would you go in with the fetus attitude that we're only going to do 50,000?
Because you didn't do 71.
We did 60.
Okay. This is fun. Once the show actually comes off and you guys are kind of happy that you exceeded that expectation, and there's a lot of damn butts in the seats, can you tell us who was surprised and who had the, I don't know, I told you so swagger about this?
I don't know. There was, well, okay, I take that back.
Vince had it.
I don't know if there's anybody that had a swagger. Some of us might have, because coming from Texas and trying to explain to people in New York what the hell a walk-up is. I would look, man, I'll say it. I was extremely confident that we would have a good walk up. I was confident that they would come at the last minute, and I was never worried. I was never concerned that we would not have a decent walk up the last couple days of the event.
All right, Bruce, well, let's talk about the walk up thing. I wanted to cover that. Meltzer offered some really fun perspective about walk up, and he says that historically Lucha Libre shows didn't have a big walk up, and in the last few days you guys sold more than 20,000 tickets, and he attributes a lot of that to something we'll cover in a minute. But explain what a walk up buy is and how promoters feel about it, because it's interesting to me that in Mexico, kind of everything's a walk-up. But here in America, if there's not a big advance sale, people start to get nervous. Am I right?
Yes, they do. But I would dispute. I think that Meltzer's completely wrong if he said that Lucha Libre is not a walk-up. Because I remember when we ran Houston, Texas, and we ran Houston, Texas with television every single week.
Maybe I said that wrong. I don't think I did, but he said that Lucha Libre is a walk-up. Yeah, Lucha Libre, he said, is a walk-up.
It is a walk-up.
Yeah.
And we used to run Houston on a Friday night with the traditional stars that were on TV every week and that had a lot of promotion. And guys used to come in. Jose Lothario used to promote Sundays in the same building, and he would only promote in the Hispanic community, in the bars, and in a local Hispanic community, and do an all lucha show and outdraw us on Friday night. So historically, especially in South Texas, the walk-up, if you had a Hispanic on top in particular, it was always there. They came at the last minute. They supported their heroes, very loyal audience, and you could count on them. And I didn't have, and San Antonio has a huge Hispanic population, and historically San Antonio, for Joe Blanchard, for Fritz von Erich, for everybody that ran there on a regular basis, historically was a big walk-up town. Now, the Northeast, man, it's all about that advance. And I could, going back, which one day we may talk about Houston wrestling, but I could go back in Houston wrestling, and I could tell you almost within 50 people, that's scary. I could tell you a house based on the advance on Friday for the house that night, what the walk-up would be and what the house would be. I could tell you within about 50 people, give or take. And you just become used to it. You're able to gauge the interest in the audience. And in South Texas, big walk-up town, San Antonio, historically a big walk-up town. And we played to that by going to sponsors and doing the $5 tickets, $5 off your tickets.
All right, let's talk about that since you brought it up. Dave attributes a lot of these last-minute sales to what he called millions of discount coupons that were printed. And a lot of these tickets that were sold, he says, were at the $5 and $7 mark. So apparently locals could pick up these coupons for discounts on their ticket at Taco Bell. And they were selling, these tickets are going almost as fast as they're printed with this coupon concept. I just have to ask, Taco Bell in San Antonio, is this a rib?
No, Taco Bell's huge in San Antonio. They have a ton of Taco Bells in San Antonio, and Taco Bell came on as a sponsor for us.
Who was in charge of putting together deals like that?
God, at that time,
While you think about that, let me run through this. Meltzer also notes that the local TV, radio, and newspapers were flooded with advertising for the event. And all over Southeast Texas, you could see coupons for the show on cans of Dr. Pepper and at every single Taco Bell. And they even changed all of the syndicated challenge shows in the market to have customized commentary pushing not only the show, but where you could get these discounted coupons. So this seems like you're saying, like a sponsor, like go buy Dr. Pepper, go buy Taco Bell. So it's kind of mutually beneficial. But this type of push means that Vince has placed a lot of importance on the show. And I'm just curious how deals like a Taco Bell or a Dr. Pepper would have come about back then. And while you're thinking about that, do you remember this coupon concept for any other big shows like this? Because I'm not super aware of any other time that you guys did it in this big of a way.
Sure, they did it in Pontiac Silverdome, too. They did the coupons, and we've done it in a lot of places where we've wanted to draw a large crowd, and we just wanted a lot of people there. So we've done it before. It wasn't something new. And the idea behind it was we had Taco Bell willing to pay for it.
So you
and we had Taco Bell,
some of the ticket prices that you lose.
You're offsetting, and also they're paying for all the marketing.
Right.
So they're paying, all the marketing and advertising, the newspaper, the television. Same thing with Dr. Pepper. They were doing the marketing for us. They were advertising. So every time you walked into a convenience store, there was a setup, Alamo Dome, Royal Rumble, and the date, and a big picture of Sean. And
WWF didn't pay for that.
Stuff we couldn't buy.
Taco Bell paid for that, or Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, Taco Bell and Dr. Pepper paid for all that.
Wow.
And then we got money from it as well to be able to use our likenesses. So we were getting advertising, sponsorship money, plus they were doing the marketing for us, and they were distributing these coupons, what have you, and they were doing a lot of the product placement with our guys all over town. So yeah, we did it. Also, to the individual markets, we customized all of our markets, especially when we were coming in with a pay-per-view with customized commentary. That wasn't unique to San Antonio. That was unique to if we had big events there.
I'm saying this was custom because it pushed the sponsors on the show.
Anytime, but we did that in every market where we ran live events and where we had big events coming in. We did that in every market.
Give me an idea of how the local radio and TV budgets are determined to promote shows. I know you just said you got a lot of stuff here gratis, but like in 2016, you may not know how they do it, but back in the day, what was like the rule of thumb? Was there a hard and fast rule of thumb for what a local promoters would have a budget for radio and TV?
There was, and I don't know the numbers. And I'm not going to tell you what the numbers is. I don't know. There was a budget. There were budgets that they had to go in and get their ad spend, whether it be radio, television. They bought time within our program, in and around our programming, but within our programming, we had our own localized spots that we ran in the event centers and different things that we made specific for each market. But we didn't do anything outside of radio and newspaper back, especially in this time. We might run a few basic cable spots and with local cable providers and things of that nature. But the local promoters, this was a national promotion, so the office, they had a budget. I don't know what it was.
Would it surprise you to hear that in Huntsville 3 years ago, their radio budget for a house show was $1,500?
Yeah.
That's low or high?
Low.
That's what I heard.
That sounds low, but
Meltzer offered some fun perspective here, saying the only larger paid attendance for a show in the United States was WrestleMania 3. So that really puts it in perspective, when you're talking about the success of this show, that this is only behind WrestleMania 3 as far as attendance in the United States. Of course, he says that show drew approximately 78,000 fans, but only 75,000 paid. And he also says that the WWF had topped the 40,000 paid mark on at least 3 other occasions outside the United States. 2 in Canada. One was Hogan and Orndorff. The other was WrestleMania 6. And then 1 in England, of course, for SummerSlam 92. He says WrestleMania at the Hoosier Dome drew 62,167 fans, which is slightly more than the Alamo Dome.
It was 168.
But the paid attendance was less at the show because it was substantially papered. I can tell you're fired up about that. The Rumble Gate still broke the all-time Texas state record, which was set back in May of '84 for the Flair Kerry Von Erich title change at Texas Stadium. That one drew 32,123 fans, which was the previous state record, and a gate of 402,000. Bruce, did you watch this '84 Texas Stadium show? Do you remember that one?
I remember it. I saw the world-class stuff at the time here and there. We didn't get it in Houston, so I would see tapes here and there.
Doesn't seeing it so empty hurt the overall experience? I mean, 32,000 is a big house, but in that stadium, it looks like nothing.
Yeah, it does. And that's simply from the way they shot it and how it was presented on television. If they had put everybody on one side and they shot it for TV, but they didn't. And the promoters were more interested in what was the house. Yeah. How much did we make? They didn't care what the hell it looked like. There were actually 32,000 people there, then they were happy. And they got the gate from that. So that's all they really cared about at that time.
Meltzer says, considering how much money was spent in advertising on those 2 respective shows, this was a long way from being the most profitable house show in Texas. By any account, the paid and total crowd were huge successes for the WWF, which by all accounts did perhaps its best job ever when it comes to local promotion of a show. So when Meltzer's putting something over like this, saying it's the best job ever for local promotion, you guys did a hell of a job for this.
I thought we did. I mean, we busted our ass. We had people on the ground, and we took the same team that was responsible for promoting WrestleManias each year, and they were on the ground to promote the Royal Rumble as if it were a WrestleMania.
Do you think this is the best promotion for a non-WrestleMania show ever up to that point? Do you agree with that?
Up to that point, yes.
Just for frame of reference, when we talked about ticket prices earlier, saying that tickets were $175, $18, $14, and $10, WrestleMania 3 tickets, the bottom price was $9. So 10 years later, different market, different show, blah, blah, blah. It's only $1 more for the cheapest ticket.
Let's get
it just wasn't pretty.
Let's get to the Royal Rumble. Cactus Jack comes in first, and this pay-per-view is famous for what we're going to talk about with this, but he's eventually eliminated by Chainsaw Charlie. Number 2, of course, is Chainsaw Charlie, and Chainsaw Charlie wound up being eliminated by Mankind. Are you following me so far? Number 3 is going to be Tom Brandy, and he's going to be eliminated by Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie. So hopefully you're keeping up. Mick Foley's in this fucker 3 times.
Yeah, it's crazy. But the thing that got me, and Pat and I put this thing together, but what Mick and Terry did at the very beginning, trading the unprotected chair shots.
Oh my God.
Watching that 20 years later just made me cringe and want to crawl under my desk. I mean, it's hard to watch.
It was, it's a fun show because you're ready for Steve Austin the entire time. And the show is really built around Steve Austin to the point that we see him arrive in the Stone Cold Steve Austin truck, which was custom painted with the smoking skull. And they ran a contest, and Mildred Bowers is announced as the winner
from Nashville, Tennessee. And Mildred Bowers, was an older lady then. I don't know if she's still with us or not. She may have passed away now, but, there's a fun video out there on YouTube. If you get a chance, I encourage you to throw it in your Google machine. Winner of Royal Rumble 1998 Stone Cold Truck, Mildred Bowers. And you'll see a video of her winning her Silverado that says 100% pure whoop ass on the tailgate. How was Mildred selected for this? This is fucking awesome.
There's a company that does like sweepstakes and contests and all that so that you keep it all on the up and up. And they randomly select them through whatever process they use. I don't know if it's a computer or if someone, Random House or whoever, just reaches into a big bin and draws it out. But we had a company that did it and handled that whole drawing.
You have got to see Mildred strutting that ass in this.
I've seen it. I've seen the video you're talking about.
It is so great. If you're listening and you haven't seen it, man, throw it in your Google machine. You will not regret it. So of course, Steve Austin is a wanted man. Everybody's out for him. The Godwins and everybody doing these skits all throughout the show. Everybody wants to know, when's he going to be here? And so we're telling a story. Can he overcome all odds? But at the same time, we establish, in my opinion, Mick Foley as a major player because we see him 3 different times as Cactus Jack, as Mankind. And of course he's in here as Dude Love as well. So he's doing all 3 gimmicks. And it comes down to the final deal here. Go ahead.
And let's go back to that, because that was something that Pat and I pitched to Vince, and he was like, how the hell can he do that? He can't be in the ring at the same time. And we're like, no, Vince. So we called Mick and said, hey, is this something you can do? And Mick loved it. But it was Vince, his first reaction was, how the hell are you going to do that? And then once we explained it to him, loved it. And we got to have our 3 faces of Foley in the match.
I thought it was a good idea to have the 3 faces of Foley. Whose idea was that?
That was something Pat and I came up with, because what happened is we had a talent roster, and on the talent roster, you had Mankind, you had Dude Love, and you had Cactus Jack. So I'm thinking, well, shit, we should have all 3 of them. Wouldn't that be great? And Pat starts laughing. Oh my God, you could have all 3. And we started playing with it and then pitched the idea, and it actually stuck. So that was a fun little bit of that Rumble.
Number 30 into the ring was Vader. And, I found it kind of funny when he's marching out to the ring, knowing what we know now. Of course, I never caught this back then. Jim Ross refers to Vader as that big old stinky grizzly bear.
Exactly.
Which I thought was hilarious.
The other great JR line from the Royal Rumble is when Jim Cornette and Jeff Jarrett came out and attacked Owen Hart. Say, Jim Cornette is a stain on the underwear of life. Sassafras. I thought that was a great line.
We get down to the final nitty gritty here, and 4 of the final dudes here are Dude Love, which is a sign that, hey, they got a lot of confidence in Mick. He's going to be a player. Farouk, and Farouk is eliminated by The Rock. Obviously that's showing you that, hey, we're going to continue to advance this Nation of Domination dissension storyline. And our last 2 are The Rock and Stone Cold. Little did we know that later that year, The Rock would be the world champion, and here we would be. Is it always a good rule of thumb that if you're in that final 4 or final 2, that's where sort of where the company sees you as a top guy? Cause this felt like a real, coming out party for The Rock here.
Well, obviously the last guys in the ring, you want to have the audience believe, hey, one of these guys, you don't want them to be able to pick it. So you want them to believe that whoever's in the ring at that time can win this thing. So yeah, you always want top guys in there, but I think we did a good job throughout this whole Rumble of telling stories with the Nation fighting each other and the Farouk Rock story and Steve kind of overcoming the odds. And there was just a lot of fun stories throughout the night in the Rumble.
Steve Austin won the match. He eliminated 7 folks. Meltzer gives it 2.5 stars. Not my favorite Rumble match ever. Where would you rank it?
Top 5.
I love you for that. I was hoping you'd say that. Shawn Michaels is
definitely in my top 5 of Rumbles.
Absolutely. I would put it up there in the top 5 with 99, 2002, 92, 90, 89, 93,
2006.
94, 2006, 2008. Yeah, those are all my top 5.
Right.
Next up, of course, we've got Shawn Michaels out defending his world title against The Undertaker. It's a casket match. They go 20 minutes and 37 seconds. Meltzer would write, real good work by both, Michaels in particular. Michaels looked to take one incredible bump early, taking a backdrop over the top rope and cracking his lower back on the casket as he went over. He was really lucky he wasn't hurt on that one. Undertaker pressed him overhead and dropped him onto the floor. If you haven't seen this, I recommend that you go out of your way to see it. This is a really, really good match. I enjoyed every time these guys worked, but it's 3.5 stars. Eventually, we're going to get lots of craziness and interference. They do a double casket spot, which, you could be critical of, but at one point, China knocks down the ref, and then the Los Boricuas and the New Age Outlaws hit the ring and all begin attacking the Undertaker. Kane comes out and everybody's ready for him to defend the Undertaker based on what we saw in Raw, and his music plays. He does clean house. An explosion was supposed to go off to set the stage for turning on Taker, but there was a screw up on the spot, according to Meltzer. And Kane turned on him and punched him and kicked him a few times before choke slamming him into the casket. And then Michaels shut the lid for the easy victory. So what do you think about, and Meltzer would write, after all the punishment both men had received, Kane's offense should have been more brutal, at least delivering a tombstone when it came to finishing Undertaker off. Paul Bearer, who had kept off the road for a few weeks to build drama for his return, prompting a million ridiculous rumors, came out and locked the casket, and then Kane took an axe and started chopping away. They poured gasoline all over it, and then Paul Bearer lit it on fire as the show went off the air. The match itself was really good, but really taken down by the finish. 3.5 stars. A lot to cover. Let's talk about the match itself. I thought it was a great match. I'm not talking about the bump or the finish. What'd you think?
I thought it was an excellent match, and I wrote down why Shawn Michaels is, in my opinion, probably the greatest worker ever. When you watch the little tiny things that Shawn does in the match, how he positions himself in the ring and how he positions himself for his opponent, little things like grabbing to throw someone into the corner, it's logical, and you don't notice it as much with Shawn, and you notice how other guys do it where it may look like a work and it doesn't look natural. It's all natural with Shawn because he puts himself in the right positions. I just was blown away by that. And that speaks to both guys, Taker and Shawn, was off the chart here. And the match itself, excellent on all fronts. A great story. They had some good spots. We talked about how hard it is to have a false finish in a casket. They had a great false finish with Taker in the casket and Shawn standing over him with the DX sign, and Taker, instead of going for a choke, grabbed Shawn by the nuts and threw him back into the ring. But top to bottom, great. I love that Meltzer talks about a screwed up spot with Kane's entrance. Again, this is somebody who doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. There was no screwed up spot at all. We didn't do pyro there. We didn't do an explosion there because of what we were setting up for at the end with the fire in the casket at the end. I thought it told great stories on all fronts. It made Shawn, the champion. He got by with the title, holding on as a great heel champion does. And here comes Kane. The turn at the end, fuck you, big brother, and you're done. Say goodbye.
We want to hear about the magic. Show us how the sausage is made. How did you guys do the fire at the end?
Well, that's where we learned at the very the trick to have that biggest. We did it. We had several caskets there, and we tried to do it to see what it would look like, and it just didn't look good. But do you know if you mix kerosene and gasoline that you can get that big explosion and you can get the long burning effect like we had on there?
I did not know that.
Yeah, well, that's a little secret. Next time you want to burn a casket on national television, that it helps. And the people, the fire marshal is the one who actually gave us that idea, and they were obviously concerned how close we were to the people and things like that. But the whole idea behind chopping the casket up was so that there was air, so the fire could breathe, and pouring the mixture of the gasoline and the kerosene and all that inside the casket just really helped to make that damn thing burn and explode and look beautiful as we got out of it on TV.
So, I've got to ask, I assume that the Undertaker slides under the ring somehow.
It's magic.
Come on, Bruce.
I can't give away the magic. It's magic.
Bruce, you haven't revealed shit on this episode. God damn it. Do it for the fans. Let's do it. Where does Undertaker go?
He mysteriously disappeared because he's the Undertaker. Actually, I'm trying to think of how this one worked. No, I think we just burned him in the casket and got him put out and we put salve on him in the back. No, there's a little trap door on the side. Roll out when it's time. That's why we when you lock the casket.
Well, the axe chopping on top, is that just to make sure that Kane then has a visual that Undertaker actually did get out and they're not going to accidentally set him on fire?
That was a good idea. Yeah, definitely. But also the main reason, yes, if he had not been able to get out and he saw him in there, we definitely would not have set him on fire.
Well, I know that, but I'm asking.
Yeah, the main reason was to give it oxygen.
Okay.
Give the fire oxygen.
Okay. All right. This is not something that you're allowed to do. You can't just go set a fucking giant fire in a building like this. You guys had a very specific square there. Hypothetically, did you have to get with some sort of building commissioner and take him for a walk beforehand?
Well, we had to get with the fire marshal to make sure that he approved it, since we were setting things on fire in an enclosed space in the city of San Jose. Yeah. And this particular fire marshal was extremely cool. And he's the one that kind of helped us with the concoction and is the one who came up with the idea of, putting the hole in the casket to give it. And he felt that even made it safer.
If we can make it bigger, it'll be safer.
Well, no, because it contained it, because the walls weren't going to burn out. But you could make that fire inside of the damn thing and make it look bigger.
Right. Well, there's been, I guess the real reason we're here is to talk about Mike Tyson, to talk about this fire, and to talk about the back injury. So let's do that. There's been lots of rumor and innuendo that Sean really wasn't that hurt here. And it's kind of funny seeing Meltzer write, he's lucky he wasn't hurt there. Here's what Sean has said about the match. 2 days later, we were shooting vignettes in Davis, California, and I felt a stabbing pain in my lower back. I flew home that Wednesday, and when I woke up Thursday morning, I couldn't move. It felt like there was a hot, searing knife tearing through my back. I'd never felt so much pain in my life. I couldn't stand up, so I rolled out of bed. My phone was a few feet away from my bed, but I couldn't get to it. I could reach the cord, so I grabbed it and pulled the phone to me. I dialed up my parents and said, I can't move. I need somebody to come get me to the hospital. They called an ambulance and came right over to the house. With my arms and legs dragging lifelessly behind me, I started crawling towards the front door. It was probably 10 yards from my room to the door, and my folks lived 20 minutes away, and they beat me to the door. The ambulance soon came afterwards, and the EMTs put me on a stretcher and took me to the hospital. Once there, they shot me up with Demerol and took an MRI. And then they told me I had a couple of herniated discs and one was completely crushed. He gave me a bunch of pills and sent me home, and I called Vince and told him what was going on. What are we going to do? He asked. Sean allegedly says, I can do WrestleMania, but I think it would be best if I could have the February pay-per-view off. This is very serious. And allegedly, Vince said, I want you to come here. I have a doctor I want you to see. Let's get a couple of opinions on it. We'll get you better for WrestleMania. That's the important thing. So Vince wanted him to go see a doctor in New York the guy who treated Dennis Byrd, who was the famous New York Jets lineman who had broken his neck during a game. So he flew to New York and went to see him. and the doctor examined him and said, "You're through. You'll never wrestle again." So he's obviously upset by that. And, we're off to the races, I guess. What do you remember about the injury that night? Did Sean come to the back complaining about the bump? Was he hurting that night? When do you first hear Sean called from his house in San Antonio and said he can't walk?
Well, working backwards, I remember the phone call when Sean couldn't walk and the ambulance was on the way, and his girlfriend was involved in there somewhere, and his parents were upset because he couldn't walk and had been rushed to the hospital. We didn't know what the hell was going on. So once we got the word about the discs and everything, Vince wanted him to come up and see this doctor. And pretty much exactly, as you just said, that's pretty much exactly how it went down. And we were concerned that, that this was it. But that night, I think Sean's adrenaline was so much that, he worked the rest of the match. He came back and made a comment about, man, I whacked the shit out of my back on that bump. But that was the extent of it. He just thought he whacked the shit out of his back and that it was going to be a bruise. And that was a part of it. Didn't think it was a real serious injury at that time. And obviously wasn't giving him enough problems that he couldn't do the match. But then a few days later, all hell broke loose.
When the office hears, oh, he's hurt his back, do people start to get very skeptical based on what we talked about earlier? Sean not really wanting to drop a belt. I'm not saying, and you defended it back then an hour ago, but I'm just asking, were a lot of people sort of going, oh, here we go again?
Yeah. And I think that's why Vince wanted him to come up and see his doctor, probably to legitimize it and make sure that he was telling us the truth and to try and help him if he was hurt. But I think there were definitely skeptics.
Well, the next night is when things really started to take off. It's the Tyson angle. Meltzer would write, the angle, which started when a heavily booed Vince McMahon brought an even more booed Mike Tyson and his entourage to the ring. Just when McMahon was going to make the announcement of Tyson's role in WrestleMania, Austin showed up. All right. Of course, we know that Austin would challenge Tyson here, and McMahon starts flipping out. Austin winds up flipping Tyson off with both hands. Tyson shoves Austin. There's a major pull apart, and McMahon is yelling, "You ruined it, damn it." And somewhere in here, Tyson calls Austin an F word, and we're done. The hottest angle in the company history, you think, at this point? I mean, obviously you've got your hottest star and he's in the ring and you guys are doing something that looks like a shoot with the most controversial pay-per-view character the world's ever known.
And both guys treated it like a shoot. Everybody out there treated it like a shoot. It was just magic. And it was that lightning in a bottle moment where you went, oh my God, we've got something special here. And we probably could have done everything that we did at WrestleMania off of that one moment alone. But I remember Vince coming back and going, oh my God, that was just insane. And we sat down, took our books out and started booking Mike and went in, and JR and I went in to thank Tyson and his people. And that was a scary scene because Tyson had $10,000 in his coat pocket. If you go back and watch this, he in his breast pocket had 10 grand, $100 bills, and it all went flying during that melee. So his people, they were all scrambling, picking up $100 bills and counting out the money in the dressing room. And Mike was a little upset at that point.
Well, it's funny that the next day, this is so well done the night after the Rumble that all the media outlets are reporting it's going to be Austin and Tyson at WrestleMania. I mean, everybody's speculating that that's the plan. And this gets mainstream coverage everywhere. ESPN, Fox Sports, USA Today, the AP, everybody's got it. I mean, when you wake up the next morning and see it's everywhere, everybody's got to be all smiles and high fives, right?
Oh God, we were ecstatic because I think it was It may have been on the front page of USA Today. I mean, we were everywhere. We were on ESPN. We were on everything. Mike Tyson was news. Steve Austin was red hot. And everybody was picking this thing up.
You know, Mike Tyson here was so funny because when he was at the Royal Rumble and they're interviewing him after Austin wins, Tyson is putting over how much he loves Cold Stoned. And, you know, when quizzed about his favorite wrestlers, he starts naming Bruno Sammartino, who at this point is in like a feud with the company. But the report was that backstage, he could not hang out with the old timers enough. He loved Pat Patterson, Arnold Scotland, and Tony Gurria, and Jerry Briscoe, and Sergeant Slaughter, and Blackjack, and all the guys, right?
Oh my God. And all he wanted to do was meet Gorilla Monsoon. That's where he was. And Mike was so damn respectful and so easy to work with. He was a joy to have around.
So Mike got along good with everybody. Was anybody, combative or resistant to Mike being there once he was actually there?
Not at all, man. Everybody wanted to meet him and get pictures with him and everything, but he wanted to meet everybody. He was like a kid in a candy store.
Well, it was a big deal to have Mike Tyson there. And of course we're going to cover WrestleMania 14, for the anniversary coming up in a couple of months. But, all in all, you know, this is a pretty monumental show because you've got sort of the end of an era with LOD. You've got Mick Foley sort of coming out party with all three personas. The Rock's down to the nitty gritty. Stone Cold goes over. Mike Tyson's here, and we've got a back bump that has the whole business talking. Where do you rank Royal Rumble 1998 all time?
Top 5.
I didn't say that. I mean, it's our new gimmick.
Hey, you know what? I mean, it was, really and truly the overall card and the overall presentation was one of the better Royal Rumbles for a total presentation, because having the Tyson thing and just having Mike in those crowd shots made it unique and made it feel pretty damn important.
Let's rapid fire some questions from Facebook. Facebook.com/something to wrestle is where you can ask questions for next week's show, Royal Rumble 1988. Bruce, are you ready?
I'm ready.
What was the idea for the poster with a bunch of nails in Austin's head? It's very confusing.
That was the old, what was it? Pinhead?
Yeah.
The guy, it looked cool. And one of the, creative services folks did that and it looked cool and Vince liked it.
Chris wants
no real reason.
Chris wants to know, why wasn't Kane in the Rumble match?
Because we wanted him to be a surprise in the Undertaker-Shawn match. There was speculation as to whether or not Kane was going to be a part of DX or side with Undertaker. So you wanted to keep him out.
Where did you get your caskets from?
Caskets are us.
How would Bret Hart have fit in had he stayed?
You know, it could have been Bret Hart in that whole scenario, with Undertaker and then going on to drop the title to Steve at WrestleMania, but we'll never really know.
Was there ever any thought to having Dude Love win the Royal Rumble?
No, there wasn't.
Lots of questions about whether or not you think this injury really kept Shawn out for 4 years, or maybe was that some of his stubbornness from not wanting to come back?
I think it was stubbornness on Shawn's part and stubbornness on Vince's part. I think Shawn, had the time and was like, if they're going to pay me, I'm going to sit out. And I think Vince on his part was, if he wants to sit out, he's going to miss out on making a lot of money and being a part of this.
Stuart wants to know, what was your favorite Tom Brady match?
Remember that one with Sal Sincere? That was probably it.
Andy wants to know, was there ever any talk between Taker and Shawn of calling a different finish because of the injury? I guess the answer is no, if he didn't know how bad he was hurt, right?
No. And he worked that whole match and did everything that he needed to do.
Do you think he didn't notice because of adrenaline, or was he also probably sort of self-medicating at the time already?
No, it was probably adrenaline.
Jared wants to know, why in the hell is one of the Harris twins giving pile drivers in a Royal Rumble?
Oh my God. I saw that and about died. I have no idea that. And it was to Terry Funk. Terry probably called it.
Well, I'll tell you something that's over with all of us, and that's jimmysfamousseafood.com. I am so pumped that they are sponsoring our show because now we get to remind the world that they have the best crab cakes in the world. It's not even a secret. Everybody in wrestling knows it. It is the most famous wrestling restaurant of all time. It is much more than just a gimmick, though. Sincerely, the best crab cakes in the world. If you have them, here's a warning. You will be ruined. You won't order crab cakes anywhere else. Now, here's what's cool about jimmysfamousseafood.com. You may not have known that they ship food nationwide. Not only for guys like me and you, but the Bowies. They order their meals from here all the time. But here's a little pro tip. When you're ordering high quality cuisine like this, the tricky part is the shipping can get expensive. What if we showed you how to make it free? That's right. Free 2-day nationwide shipping on orders over $125 when you use the promo code WRESTLE. Now, you can get the Maryland crab cakes, the best you've ever had. The soups, the chowders, the oysters, the signature steaks. Don't sleep on those. The best prime rib I ever had was from Jimmy's Famous Seafood. Plus, they got incredible desserts, even gluten-free items. Now, they've got gift boxes if you're trying to figure out what that last-minute gift for somebody in your life should be, somebody who's hard to buy for. Nobody ever complains about the world's best colossal Maryland crab cakes. You'll get 4 of them in the famous gift box. You'll also get 2 different crab soups, a crab dip, seafood seasoning, and their signature bay sauce. Or maybe it's time for bowl season. Maybe you're getting ready for those playoffs. Why not a tailgate bundle? It's 2 pounds of wings, a full rack of ribs, a pint of crab dip, and even the crab cake mix. Or better yet, just create your own package. For over 40 years, this family, that's right, a family-owned business, don't you just love that? Has been featured on diners, dine-ins, and dives, Beat Bobby Flay, and so much more. Bruce Prichard and I have done shows here. We go every time we're in Maryland. And Bruce, you were going way back when in the 90s. But right now, you can have it delivered to your house with free shipping when you use the promo code WRESTLE.
14,816 fans in the building, of which 13,597 were paying $630,050. Another 137 grand and change in merchandise. Whew, what a house. There's one dark match on the show. A couple of guys, I don't know if they'll ever do anything in the business. Christian and Jeff Hardy. This Christian guy got the pin in 11 minutes with what would become the unprettier. At this point, it was still referred to by Dave Meltzer as Tommy Rogers Tamikaze. And Meltzer loved the match. It went 11 minutes, and he says it was the second best match on the entire show. Pretty cool peek into the future here. 14 months after this, in the same building, these two men are going to be a part of that famous triple ladder match that really helps put them on the map at WrestleMania 2000. Let's get to Sunday Night Heat. It did a 4.77 rating. That's actually higher than Nitro 6 days prior, which only did a 4.4. They opened with a montage of the Austin McMahon feud, and then Kevin Kelly and Shane McMahon opened the show. What'd you think about Kevin and Shane as the voice of Sunday Night Heat?
Yeah, I thought they were fine. I just don't think that Shane wasn't a commentator. Shane wasn't a color guy. I don't think that was his forte. Kevin Kelly, to me, was a really good play-by-play guy. I think he's still a pretty good play-by-play guy, but them as a team, and I just don't think that was Shane's forte. So always felt like it was forced to me.
Let's talk a little bit about Vince, Gerald, and Pat Patterson coming to the ring for No Chance in Hell. Shane joins them in the ring, and Vince announces that Austin has 30 minutes to arrive at the arena or he's going to be eliminated from the Royal Rumble. I guess I should mention here that we've also seen footage of Austin trying to pull up to the arena in his pickup truck, and a parking lot attendant tells him that Mr. McMahon is only allowing limousines in the VIP parking lot. Austin gets angry, peels out of the parking lot, and says he'll find a limo. So at this point, now McMahon says, well, he's only got 30 minutes or he's eliminated. And we also see Mankind is going to have to wrestle a warm-up match against a mystery opponent on the show. And Shane goes back to the broadcast table and Vince and his crew leave. And then we see a limo pull into the parking lot. After the break, the Stooges meet up with the limo, and a large black man wearing a ski mask exits the limo and goes into the arena with the Stooges. This is directly from the Observer. Bob Holly and Scorpio beat Taylor and Christopher in 3 minutes and 52 seconds. The work was not good, according to Dave Meltzer. We do see a way to set up the Acolytes attacking the Job Squad, which has the Undertaker and Paul Bearer made up coming to the ring. And a shot of Mankind is shown in the boiler room, and Shane's taunting him while on commentary. And Mankind's calling him a pretentious little twit. And he's making that rhyme because he's saying he wouldn't quit. And this is a pretty important promo, because you see Mankind scream that The Rock is going to be the one to scream, "I quit, I quit, I quit." And Shane thanks Mankind for the kind words. Then we see a Stone Cold countdown clock, which is giving us the exact time that Vince gave Austin to arrive at the arena. And of course, we've got a continued shot here in the parking lot, which allows a monster truck limo to appear and then barrel over a bunch of cars like you would see at some arena show for monster trucks. Austin jumps out the driver's door and comes to the ring. Tell me about this monster truck limo. Did you guys find it first and then just reverse book all this stuff? Where in the world does one source, and who in the world sources a monster truck limo?
Well, you go in the phone book to Monster Truck Limos R Us and give them a call. And there's quite a few in Anaheim, to be exact. There seemed to be a fondness during the Austin era of different motor vehicles for Steve to ride in and crash and do different things with. I believe that this one, because there were so many, we were working on the Stone Cold monster truck in general to compete in the monster truck competition that toured and goes around the country, and you had your grave diggers and all that. Well, they wanted a Stone Cold monster truck. In talking to those folks about licensing and everything, the idea came out, what do you have? And they had this limo available out there. It was a limo body on a monster truck base. So hell, that kind of wrote itself. And Vince loved to have Steve come in and destroy shit with motor vehicles. So it was served every purpose that there was. And eventually I think we actually got that Stone Cold monster truck as well. But it kind of was all this, everything. It was a perfect storm. It all came together at once and we used it.
I guess I should mention we had a segment here that's worth mentioning. When Austin does come in with that limo, he eventually gets in the ring. And of course, it's part of the contract that he can't touch Austin or he can't touch McMahon, but McMahon takes advantage of that and slaps Austin and then bails. And immediately the Stooges are there to catch the ass whooping from Austin. That's sort of a fun way to put over the pay-per-view for sure. Let's get to it. Well, I guess before we should, we see Vince McMahon oiling himself up on Sunday Night Heat. There's a shot that's airing of Vince from the back with his shirt off, rubbing baby oil on himself. And he tells the Stooges, it's not baby oil.
It's man oil, pal.
My God.
All you got to do is you go on this little thing called the internet and you go to Man Oil Is Us.
Oh no, don't do that.
What? No?
No.
But it's right there. It's
Yeah.
Man Oil RS. But you can get a lot of things on the internet and just, put your credit card in and they ship it directly to your door. And that's where he got his man oil. But
Vince McMahon wins the Royal Rumble. 56 minutes, 38 seconds. It's never specified on this show how long it will be in between people joining in. And there doesn't seem to be a set time.
Well, Conrad, I ran a stopwatch and I timed every single interval.
And
yeah, there was no specified time.
It's amazing.
I think every one of them were pretty much different. Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like it's 90 seconds. Sometimes it's clearly not.
But sometimes it's a minute and 11 seconds.
It's crazy.
Sometimes it's 2.5 minutes. Hey, but who's counting?
We start with McMahon and Austin, and McMahon is coated up in the baby oil here. Chat me up here. Is this Vince McMahon's like fantasy? I mean, this has to be something that, even though he tries to downplay it and not get overly excited or acknowledge it for anybody, the way he's carrying on here, he's having fun.
Oh, hell yeah, he's having fun. Come on, this is what Vince dreamed of since he was a kid.
Sure.
He always wanted to be a performer. Vince always wanted to be Dr. Jerry Graham. He always wanted to be in the spotlight. He wanted to be that nasty heel that everyone despised. So hell yeah, he was loving it. He's a performer. He loved getting out there and doing that shit.
I got to tell you, it was fun to go back and watch this because the crowd is just so into this, and Austin's wearing him out, gets him into the corner, stomps for what feels like forever, flips him off, one final kick. As Michael Cole would say, vintage Austin. I just loved it. Their interaction at the beginning was unbelievable. I loved it. McMahon gets one low kick in, and, Meltzer wrote, McMahon came out with the oil and tan in a bottle that bodybuilders use coming on stage, walking around like a contestant bodybuilder with the famous pro wrestling Mil Mascaras walk. And, yeah, Golga comes in next because I know when I think about Austin and McMahon, Golga's who I want next.
Damn right.
To my surprise, the crowd's so hot that Golga is actually getting over. Like the crowd is really with their little oddities, hand movements, you know, the old Public Enemy, put your hands in the air gimmick. Austin and McMahon wind up brawling to a women's bathroom. And when they do, it's revealed that this was all a trap. McMahon had lured him in, and the corporation is going to destroy Austin and leave him laying. Droz comes in next with face paint, not a look we saw very often. Edge is out next. And then Gilbert comes in, and Gilbert is getting the full Goldberg-like treatment. Huge reaction from the crowd. Steve Blackman's out next. So let's run through that. We start with Austin McMahon. Then we run through all these guys. Dan Severn, Tiger Ali Singh. And to my surprise, Blue Meanie comes out, gets a hell of a pop. Once he scoots in the ring, does his meanie dance, the crowd responds. It's really weird because I don't even remember Blue Meanie being in a Royal Rumble, much less his dance getting over like that. This crowd was so into this match, and it's names that you wouldn't normally expect there to be a big pop for, but they're here. It's fun to go back and look at times when the Job Squad and the Oddities were really, really over. At this point in the match, though, it doesn't feel like we've got a contender for somebody who might actually win the thing. Who would have helped lay out this Royal Rumble as far as entrance of, you know, the order of the entrance and all that?
I think Pat and I laid it out for the most part.
What's the story?
We had the idea behind it was start with, and this was my bitch. What I didn't like about it. And actually Terry Taylor, worked with us on it as well, but here's what I hated about it. Vince and Austin start, two biggest names. Vince first time, you know, being in the ring type thing, actually in a match. Austin, the hottest fucking guy in the territory. And they're gone 5 minutes into the match. And yes, we had little bits with them where you saw them back and forth, but, you didn't have any Austin, you didn't have any Vince in the match. And I think that was a big lure for people to see them interact with other guys in the Royal Rumble. So that part, we had our hands tied. These are the spots we have to get in. This is how we're going to do it. So we had to figure it out. We had to figure it out. And when you look at everybody in totality of guys that are entered in the Royal Rumble, it was an Austin McMahon Royal Rumble. You had a few other names in it, but it was tough. I mean, it was just, it's not as easy as everybody thinks. You got to figure out spots for 30 different guys and know what the hell's going on at all times. And it's writing a 60-minute match that you literally have to write, because one spot goes into another guy's entrance and this exit goes into something else. So it was difficult. We had our hands tied with the Austin McMahon interaction, or lack thereof.
It is pretty exciting when I saw Tiger Ali Singh come in.
Well, he came in, his was only a minute 30 interval. The average interval was about a minute 35. If you're interested.
The lights go out eventually when it's just Jesse James and Mabel. Undertaker comes out. The Acolytes and Midian hit the ring and they decide to attack Mabel and they drag him away. Kurgan shows up. Gangrel's here.
Well, and that was the longest interval.
Shut the fuck up.
Oh, seriously, it was. It was 2.5 minutes from the time that Road Dogg came out and we had a blackout. It was 2.5 minutes until Gangrel came out. That we did the whole thing with Taker, and we didn't send anybody out for 2.5 minutes. Felt like an eternity.
Well, but you knew the good wrestling was coming because Kurgan was out next.
Yeah.
Meltzer would write, Kurgan showed up and the next 90 seconds were worse than the previous 35. Al Snow was next in, Goldust, then Godfather. By the way, big pop for Godfather, and the crowd's even, chanting, "We want hose," which is kind of fun. Instead of hose though, they got the mayor. Kane's out. The orderlies show up and Kane gives one a choke slam. He jumps over the top rope, eliminating himself, and the crowd's sort of down on that. And then Vince McMahon shows back up wearing a sweatshirt and he's going to do commentary for like the next half hour.
Yeah, no shit. But before that we gave Kane had the diesel spot. And that was the spot of going in and clearing house and standing in the ring alone. And that's actually what we called it. We would always have the diesel spot because we did it kind of as a way to spotlight Diesel in his first Royal Rumble. And then each year we'd go, okay, who's going to get the diesel spot, and come up with some way for some guy to come out and clear the ring. And it was Kane's turn this time. And then the orderlies coming out and him eliminating himself. But then it was, you're sitting there looking at it going, man, we got no Vince. We got no Austin. We got to do something. And then the idea was we'll put Vince on commentary. And so he's back out there and you're getting Vince, but he's not in the ring. So yeah, it was a lot of caveats.
We've got an ambulance that's going to come back at this point, this time with Austin driving it. I guess I should remind everybody that when he was left for dead earlier in the women's bathroom, that's a real sentence. They carted him out, not through the back, but through the front of the building. To where they're going outside, but there's fans everywhere and Austin's on a stretcher. It was a surreal scene. I don't remember seeing anything like that before. It wasn't like a loading dock. It was just out the door. But here the ambulance comes back and Austin runs in, goes after McMahon, but he's attacked by Shamrock. Boss Man comes in. Hunter Hearst Helmsley and Val Venus are in next. Then X-Pac and Mark Henry. Then Jeff Jarrett. The crowd, of course, dies when Deborah goes to the back. That's who got Jared to pop. D'Lo's in next. And this time he's got Jacqueline and Terry Runnels, which I don't really get because he just calls her to have a miscarriage. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have your second longest interval in between entrants. And after D'Lo is out there, now you got 2 minutes and 18 seconds.
Listen, who am I talking to?
What?
What's going on, you fucking nerd? You're over here with a goddamn stopwatch time and entrances.
I did.
You used to make, whenever we would have a recap of one of these shows and Meltzer would make mention of it, you just flew off the handle making fun of him. And now I guess you figured out how to use your fancy stopwatch app on your phone. And you're
There's this thing called the lap. And I saved every one of them. You can go back and you could look at the different intervals all the way through.
Jesus.
But no, here's the thing. Running Gorilla, and a lot of times I would get so mad because I just wanted to run the 2 minute clock. It's easier that way. But we had so many things that had to happen before the next guy could come out. And then I would always go back to the very first Royal Rumble and Dick Ebersol and Titan Time. So it was just for shits and giggles. I was like, man, I remember this, and I remembered just everybody was different and everything was different. And it was one of the very first times that I didn't just run a 2 minute or 90-second clock, that I just was waiting for spots and sending guys. And I'd wait for a spot and go 10, 9, and they would put the clock up. Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know what happened to Bruce, but I hope he shows up next week. Owen Hart comes in. Austin throws a water pitcher in McMahon's face at ringside, but McMahon doesn't come into the ring. Eventually, Austin goes after McMahon at ringside, throws him over the barricades into the crowd, and then back into the ringside area. Hard chair shot, gets him in the back of the head. Austin's killing him. Vince hits a low blow. Austin sells it momentarily and then recovers, hits the stunner, forearm off the middle rope. And this brings The Rock to ringside with the world title. He's dressed, of course, and Rock and Austin argue, allow McMahon to dump him from behind. It's an easy win. And Meltzer would say, probably the worst Rumble ever when it came to the wrestling, but at least they constructed some stories to the match. 1.5 stars. Pretty strict criticism or stiff criticism. Worst Rumble ever. It did tell a story, but not all that great. What say you?
I hated it. I hated it, and I wrote it. It was just tough to do. We had handcuffs on. It did tell a story, and to that, okay, I give it credit. We told some good stories, but the match itself was not good, and we didn't get to do as much gaga and good shit in the match itself that we normally would have. And that's my biggest critique of it. We told one story, and usually we get to we would tell quite a few and intersperse shit and have little Easter eggs and nuggets in the damn thing. That wasn't the case here. The Undertaker story, a little bit with Mabel, the Kane story, but the rest of it was Austin McMahon, and you only got him for a short period. So that was frustrating to me, but yeah, I don't think it was a good Rumble at all.
25 minutes and 47 seconds is the longest anyone spends in the ring. And that's Steve Austin's total time. Of course, he was in there at the start and the finish, but there was the big chunk in the middle for both him and McMahon where they were out. And Meltzer would say it's the second lowest time for any wrestler. That was the longest in a Royal Rumble. The lowest was 1988 for Bret Hart with 25 minutes and 42 seconds. Normally there's some sort of, Iron Man who makes it the majority of the match. And that didn't happen here. Can't believe this is real, but Wooo Wings, your very own virtual restaurant concept, is now open, and fans can enjoy the legendary flavors and world championship wings by ordering with their Uber Eats or Postmates app. Wooo Wings is now open in Nashville, San Antonio, Jacksonville, as well as Huntsville and Tuscaloosa, right here in Alabama. Many more locations coming soon. As a virtual restaurant,
Woo Wings is looking to partner with existing restaurants in major metro areas. Tell your favorite sports bar or local restaurant you want Woo Wings in your town, and to visit RicFlairWings.com for more information on how to become a partner. But if you're in Nashville, San Antonio, Jacksonville, Huntsville, or Tuscaloosa, hop on your Uber Eats or Postmates app and look for Woo Wings and try the only chicken wings worthy of carrying the name of the 16-time world heavyweight champion, Woo Wings. Be sure to check out RicFlairWings.com to become a partner.